Is everyone punched in now? Call the meeting to order. Make sure you're all checked in because we're doing it by roll call. I'll be up on here. You can all see who's present and who isn't. So we're all doing it on our iPads now. First thing on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd all stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Supervisor Powers.
Creator and preserver of all humankind, you have filled the world with beauty. Open our eyes to behold your gracious hand in all your works, that rejoicing in your whole creation, we may learn to serve those people you have given us to serve. Take away the arrogance and hatred which infect our hearts. Break down the walls that separate us. Unite us in bonds of love and service to the people of Winnebago County, the state, and the world. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Adoption of the agenda. Supervisor Albrecht. Motion made and second for the adoption of the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried. This time we'll allow for persons to express their opinions on any resolution or ordinance that appears on the agenda, as well as any matter over which this body has jurisdiction. Anyone wish to speak on anything? I do not have Zoom. Is there anyone on Zoom that wishes to? Not seeing any on here, and also not on Zoom. We will continue right on. Correspondence, 2022 WCA Membership Survey. We can't get Sue on here. There we go.
Thank you. So yes, on your desk is a yellow 2022 biennial survey that the WCA asks the boards to fill out every 2 years after an election. So if you get it done tonight, that would be great. We'll just collect them. If you don't get them done tonight and you want to send them to us, that'll be fine. I just can't send them in until I get everybody's. And then I just wanted to bring to your attention, we started something different. There's so many new supervisors that we actually put a form out, because you can have business cards and a name tag. And so there's a form here if you're interested in those business cards, and I'm sure you're going to want to get a name tag. So we're just asking you to fill that out the way you'd like your name on the tag, and also the format is set up like this, but what information you would like on your business cards. You can add your county email, you don't have to, but that is an option. So again, if you could turn that into our office, that would be great. And I think that's all I've got, Chairman Egan.
Thank you. Reports from committees, commissions, and boards. Is there anyone that has any yet? I know we haven't got them all assigned just yet, but anyone that has any? Not seeing anyone on the board, we'll keep right on going. Make up for last weeks. Approval of March 15th, 2022 regular session and March 29th, 2022 special session board proceedings. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried. County executive appointments, commissions, and boards.
I think I'm going to report first. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chairman Egan. I would like to speak tonight about unity. One of the platforms I ran on was collaboration. I learned a lot in the past year and come to further understand what that means. And I encourage all county board members, regardless of length of service, to be diligent in building bridges and working together for the best interests of the citizens who elected us to represent them. We can build unity. We do not have to settle for the divisiveness that stalls Madison or Washington, D.C. I ran as an independent because I truly believe the issues of the county are not RD, they're not red or blue or progressive or conservative. County government lives in the real world. The issues we solve literally change the trajectory of our citizens' lives. Tonight you will discuss appointments to boards and commissions. I wanted to be equitable when deciding appointments to ensure equal representation as much as possible. My team and I looked at representation for different areas of the county and years of board experience in an attempt to commingle in every opportunity we could. The process we utilized was to review the committee and committee recommendations. I organized supervisors by number of appointments they were given. Then I utilized a pool of supervisors with one appointment to fill our boards and commissions. I looked at geographical diversity most when I looked at appointments to make sure the entire county was represented. In this process, it's very hard to make everybody happy, and I understand that. I did put forth my best effort to ensure each of you have the great opportunity to serve your constituents. I want to thank Supervisor Bokart for agreeing to step down from solid waste to allow Supervisor Wise to take his place. Supervisor Bokart told me that he would be honored to serve wherever he is needed. That is an admirable sentiment, and I think we can all agree with that. Thank you. I had a desire to put the same 5 supervisors in the Board of Health and the Human Service Board. This would be beneficial for the needs of the grant that we received to address housing instability. After the appointments were sent out, a review of county code made us realize that we're not exactly following geographical requirements for the Board of Health. There are some other statutory things we need to review. For tonight, I'm going to be polling the appointments of Rebecca Nichols from the Board of Health and asking my team to review county code and state laws by June. Additionally, we noticed not all citizen appointments of the prior Board of Health and Human Services were from the Oshkosh area. Based on geographical diversity and a number of standing committee appointments, I removed Supervisor Norton from the Human Services Board, and I'm asking the board to confirm confirm Supervisor Nichols in his place. I thank Supervisor Norton for his commitment to these issues and ask for his willingness to allow for this. And I also appreciate the work that you did representing the most vulnerable in our population. On your desk is an updated letter on appointments. Lastly, we do have a few resolutions tonight that we're asking you to allocate money for. I'm going to address one of these. I attended UWO Fox Cities campus in 1999. The kitchen was All right, there we go. I'll start that line over. Okay. I attended the UWO Fox Cities campus in 1999. The kitchen was very outdated back then. I have since toured this facility and realized it was even smaller and older than I remember. We are not asking you to approve this project tonight, but rather we're asking for the engineering phase of the project to be funded. I know how valuable this campus was to me as a young adult. It was the campus I could afford at the time, and it served me well. I am happy for the opportunity to support it 20-some years later. I'm urging you, please, to approve this project to move forward. I'm excited for this next term with us together and the things that we can accomplish. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out to my office. I want to make sure that my office and our staff is a resource for you, whether you're serving in your first term or in your second decade. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Any questions? Not seeing any questions. Do you have all your appointments there then that you want to go through?
I do.
If you'd like to, sir.
All right. Dear members of the County Board of Supervisors, I provided some clarity on term lengths and have pulled the appointments with the explanation below of Supervisor Nichols to the Board of Health. Below are my appointments to fill numerous boards and commissions. On AVOCAP, the Board of Directors. And clarification, do we have to do this one person at a time, Mary Ann, or can we do the entire commission?
I'm sorry, let me see what the current practice is.
Each name?
Each name they're saying.
Okay. For the AVOCAP Board of Directors, I would like to appoint Donald Nussbaum.
You want to do each name, so is there a motion?
Each name or the whole board? What's the?
Well, we're
I
hearing
can
two
do the
different
whole
things.
board?
Mr. Eisen's hollering something. What is it?
You can announce the members of the board.
Of the board. All right, so for AVOCAP Board of Directors, I'd like to appoint Donald Nussbaum and Shanna Zestera. Terms expiring April 16th of 2024. Supervisor Andy Buck remains a member of the Board of Directors.
Hearing them three names, is there a motion to accept them three? Second. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried.
All right, for the Aging and Disability Resource Center Committee, I would like to make the appointment of Supervisor Michael Robinson of Oshkosh. Supervisor Robertson replaces the former Supervisor Susan Locke. This term expires August 31st of 2022.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried.
All right, for the Board of Health, appointment of Supervisors Ralph Harrison, Jeff Beam, Karen Powers to fill the term set to expire July 1st, 2022. Supervisor Ramos and Ellis, who did not seek re-election, and Supervisor Egan, who has resigned from the Board of Health. Supervisors Rachel Youngquist and Mike Norton will remain members until July 1st of 2022. Due to county code requirements on geographic representation, I am pulling the appointment of Rebecca Nichols for this.
Motion made and seconded. And any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried. Yes, Mr. Hens.
Can I ask for unanimous consent to confirm the county executive appointments and mask, please?
No, we should go per board.
Corporate counsel says no, it has to go by committee.
Just trying to save time.
Thank you.
We can't have them just read them off and then, okay, go ahead.
You want to repeat that, Supervisor Norton? I think that's kind of what Supervisor Hens meant.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right, I was saying I appreciate the effort. Where were we on that? Did we make a motion for? So we're on Human Services. Okay, Human Services Board. Appointment of Supervisor Ralph Harrison and Jeff Beam to replace the terms of former supervisors Jerry Finch and Larry Lautenschlager, set to expire December 31st of 2024. Supervisor Rachel Youngquist and Rebecca Nichols to fill the term set to expire December 31st of 2023 of Supervisor Stafford, who has resigned from the Human Service Board, and Mike Norton, who will be removed effective April 30th to balance the geographical diversity of the board and provide equity in the board and commission assignments. Supervisor Karen Power still remains appointed until December 31st of 2024.
Is there a motion? Is there a second? Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried.
All right, Human Services Board. The appointment of Larry Lautenschlager and Oshkosh to replace Ralph Harrison's citizen appointment vacancy. This term expires December 31st of 2022.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried.
All right, Diversity Affairs Commission. Reappointment of Supervisor Steve Bender, Latiria Garrett, Catherine Null Arias, Jared Longsign, and Sorab Tarain Akavian, and appointment of Supervisor Rachel Dowling. A citizen vacancy remains on this commission. These terms expire April 30th of 2024.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? Supervisor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This one vacancy has been here for like several months, maybe more than half a year, 7 or 8 months. Do you have is there a plan to get this filled?
There is. I have the name on my desk, but I am in talking with somebody right now. I want to make sure that they're committed. There were a few in the past that I appointed. Rodney was one of them that didn't have the time to make it to the committee. So I want to make sure whoever I appoint to this commission is actually able to have the time to show up.
Do you foresee that we'll have this appointed by the 15th meeting?
Yeah, I think I'm
Okay,
pretty
good.
close. Yep.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried.
There we go. Yeah, I know. I was waiting. Thank you, Julie. Appreciate that. East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. Reappointment of Robert Schmeickel from Town of Neenah and Robert Keller from Town of Black Wolf, local elected officials. These terms expire April 30th of 2024.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried.
All right, the East Wisconsin Counties Railroad Consortium. Appointment of Supervisors Donald Nussbaum and Supervisor Howard Miller. This term expires April 16th of 2024.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried.
All right, the Industrial Development Board. Appointment of Supervisor Andy Buck, Supervisor Brian Stafford, and Supervisor Nate Gustafson. This term expires April 16th of 2024.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried.
All right, the Industrial Development, oh, no, I just did that one. Solid Waste Management Board, the appointment of Kevin Conrad of Oshkosh. Mr. Conrad replaces the citizen appointment of Mr. Doug Nelson. This term expires April 15th of 2025.
Just hold on here. Gotta find you here first.
There's two in there?
I have a motion made and seconded. All right, questions? Supervisor Eisen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The county executive was right when he addressed the Industrial Development Board for the appointment of Mr. Keller, which was not presented, but he will do it. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried.
Thank you, Supervisor Eisen. I will go back on that one. Appreciate it. The Industrial Development Board, the appointment of Robert Keller, Town of Black Wolf. Mr. Keller replaces Linda Kuchenreiter. This term expires April 16th of 2024.
Motion made and seconded. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried.
All right, the Solid Waste Management Board, the appointment of Supervisors Doug Nelson and Supervisor Howard Miller for terms expiring April 15th of 2025. Supervisor Jim Wise and Supervisor Shanna Zestera for terms expiring April 18th of 2023. Supervisor Paul Eisen remains in term expiring April 16th of 2024.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried.
All right, UW Oshkosh Fox Cities Board of Trustee. Appointment of Supervisors Tom Swan and Tom Bokart. Terms expire April 16th of 2024.
Motion made and seconded. Supervisor Schwan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I need to point out that I'm an independent commercial real estate appraiser by trade, and I've done work for UW Oshkosh, and I just want to make sure that there won't be any conflict of interest if that business relationship continues, as if I serve as a trustee. I've not done work for Fox Cities campus, but I just need to point that out, I feel.
I appreciate that, and we can look into that. And I know
Okay.
there are some adjustments that might be coming up after this. Supervisor Binder may take the spot of Supervisor Borkart. Mr. Supervisor Borkart may become the alternate. So we can address that afterwards. There is always time to resign commissions, and then I can
Yeah, okay.
reappoint next month. So I do
just-
very much appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Swan, you might want to abstain from voting on this one, just because of that, until that's cleared up.
Okay, very well.
Thank you, Mr. Peschel. Supervisor Peschel. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. And one abstain.
Thank you. Veteran Service Commission, the appointment of Miss Peggy A. Schumacher of Oshkosh to replace Mrs. Lucy Burr. Ms. Schumacher retired as First Sergeant of the U.S. Army after 20 years of service. This term expires December 31st of 2022.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried.
All right, and lastly here, the Winnebago County Library Board. Reappointment of Mr. Tom Snyder of the Town of Winnebago. This term expires April 30th of 2024.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried. Thank you. Any questions before he leaves? Thank you. Now that he's gone. All right. County Board Chairman's report. I'd like to report that Supervisor Buck, Robinson, and Schellinger, all three had asked to be excused from this meeting. That's one thing. Couple other things. One, county executive kind of stole my thunder on it, but that's good. I guess I was getting to be the same thing here, is that we got to remember that this is one board. We're all elected the same day. We're all sworn in the same day. Just because I've been here in this room maybe longer than some of you don't mean anything. We're all here. This is this term for 2 years now, and we're all here together. And I can remember Supervisor Fohm, Supervisor Peschel, and Supervisor Hintz, when I was sworn in, they reached right out and shook my hand. And I think maybe that's what we got to remember is, I'm not saying come up and shake my hand, but the person that's next to you, go ahead and shake your hand, introduce yourselves, work together. Don't be afraid of each other. That's the only way we're going to get along, is to do that. So I would really appreciate if you do that and make it a lot easier on everyone that's sitting there. And on Supervisor Fari and I can guarantee you, and these girls down here, I can guarantee you it would make it a lot easier on them. So anytime you feel like calling or whatever, or emailing me, don't be afraid to. You know, we're not always going to agree on anything, or everything, I should say, but I always, however I vote or whatever, I've always got a reason why, and hopefully those of you do also, no matter how it is. But let's get along, and because you'd be surprised, I'm going to tell you this, you'd be surprised at the emails and telephone calls that I got home after this last meeting. It wasn't from people that was in this room, well, some were in this room in the back, and some were watching on Zoom, thinking on how we acted. When I say we, some of you, I'm not going to point any names on how it was acted out, that we're children. Now, we've all are growing up. They've elected us to take over for our county, and let's do that. And let's make Winnebago County better. So that's enough on that. The other thing I want to bring forward is one of the resolutions that was brought last time is live stream. And that could become a problem with us. And I'm going to go with two of our ladies here, our clerk, and also Marianne down there, to explain on what live stream means, and just so you understand the difference between live stream and Zoom. I'm going to start with our clerk.
Thank you, Chairman Egan. Yeah, there was just some confusion about when the rule was changed to live stream. The Oshkosh Media, who's covering our meetings, all of our county board meetings, we're always live stream with them. So I didn't understand that, so that's why the agenda was resent out with a Zoom link, because the Oshkosh City Council is also meeting tonight, and so Oshkosh Media is covering that. So I didn't think we were going to be live streamed, but we are always on the YouTube channel for the City of Oshkosh. So now I'm going to defer to Mary Ann as our legal counsel, but at this point, the only way we can live stream is to have Zoom meetings. And actually, the definition of live stream would really be just that we're broadcast, not necessarily audience participation. So at this point, with the rule that every committee has to be live streamed, we're really not set up to do that unless we Zoom every committee meeting. So I guess I needed clarification. I don't know,
Corporate
Mary Ann,
counsel, well, she's going up there to speak. I just wanted to say this will not be for a vote or whatever tonight. We're not going to change it. It's just to get clarification on what this actually means.
Let me
Corporate counsel.
give you folks an idea as to what happened. Sue Ertmer reached out to me because one of the constituents was concerned that there was not going to be Zoom. And I said, well, I remember on Tuesday night there was discussion and the word Zoom came out and live stream was replaced. The constituent said, but with live stream, there will not be interaction. And I said, well, there would be interaction only during the public piece anyway. But with live stream, there is no interaction. You only have interaction with Zoom. And as I told Clerk Ertmer, it was clear that the county board took out the word Zoom and replaced it with live stream. But then again, Clerk Ertmer was saying, but this constituent is saying then the public will not have a chance to interact. So I said, well, you can certainly bring this up to tonight, at tonight's meeting. Now, I know this agenda was amended after you had spoken with Chairman Egan and consulted presumably with Vice Chair Fari to decide that we should do Zoom as well tonight. Is that correct? So that is what I can tell you. I know, as I said, based on my notes, that the word Zoom came out and live stream was replaced, but was the intent of this board to not have interactions? Because if so, I mean, that's essentially where we are now with the rule that was passed last Tuesday.
So I do have Supervisor Nussbaum was first.
I'm just wondering if you have Supervisor Robinson listed as absent.
Yes, he should be. Buck, Robinson, and Schellinger should all three be. Okay,
Shows present there.
They're present via Zoom.
okay.
Oh, okay.
All right, next is Supervisor Peschel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to speak. I guess when I think Mr. Flom had offered the live stream, and I put it into the amendment for that resolution, my intention was not to remove the public.
Can I make a point of order, please? I don't believe we can discuss this because it wasn't noticed on an agenda, and I don't want anybody here getting in an open meetings violation. So this is not something I don't think we can discuss, and I'd like clarification before we move any further in this conversation, not to interrupt you.
I think you may want to pursue this at another time.
All right, I was just advised that this will be put on the, can we get it on next week's yet? Amend it and put it on there for next week, because I know we couldn't vote or anything on it. I raised it because that's, to me, it's quite a large question when they asked me, well, Zoom or whatever. I just figured it was, but when you look at the wording, so. So that's all that we will be doing now. Think about it, have your questions or whatever, and you will be getting amended agenda. Thank you. Supervisor Stafford.
Just a clarification for next week, to make a change, is that 2/3 or simple majority to make that change?
I thought it would be 2/3 because you're going to be changing a rule, though. Depends upon how you read the rule.
Well, I do not have my notes from last week, but I do know that at one point, one of the many resolutions, and maybe that was for committee structure, that might not have been for rules, because typically, as you all know, with orientation, you only need a majority. Other times, to change rules, you need more than that. You need 2/3. So I cannot give you the answer right now because I do not have my notes from last week. And we're in the process of moving, as some of you may know, tomorrow, so, okay.
Thank you. Okay, so be ready for it. It'll either be majority or 2/3, so. All right. Committee on committees. We had, or first, I'm sorry, Equine Complex 2022 Capital Improvement Project. Adam Bress, Winnebago County Parks Director. Is Adam here?
Thank you very much, Chairman Egan. I apologize. I needed to join today via Zoom. Thank you to the entire county board. I look forward to meeting in person going forward. I had a family situation come up this evening. But thank you to the entire board. This evening, I will be presenting, and it looks like I have screen share ability, so I'm going to move over to my PowerPoint. And presenting on a capital project that is in the 2022-2026.
Adam, can you just hold on a second? We got to get another cord plugged in here from someplace. Otherwise, we can't see what you're going to be presenting here.
Not a problem. I have it up once you are ready, and if you can see it.
There you go. We're all set.
Perfect. You see the title page?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much once again. So this was a project for 2022 that is listed in our 2022-2026 capital improvement plan for the Parks Department. At the Equine Complex, or the Sunnyview Exposition Center, we have a few larger maintenance items that need to be addressed that we budgeted or that we put into our capital improvement plan for this year. So I'm going to run through its basically 4 different components of the Equine Complex. And I'll move forward to the first phase, and we'll just go first piece of the project, and we'll just go one piece at a time. So the first item of note that we're looking to replace is our existing barn lights. We have over 100 barn lights, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to email the entire board. We have a cost breakdown in regards to how much the current electrical consumption is of these metal halide lights, and then what it would be to convert them to LED lights. So you can see here in a few of the pictures, the center one gives you an idea of just the covered arena, which is our large arena area where all of our horse shows will show their horses, and you can see how many lights are in there. We have about 80 lights in the existing covered arena, all of them being the older metal halide lights. And so the Parks Department is looking to switch those and convert those to LED lights, very similar to what the Facilities Department has been doing. In fact, the Facilities Department would be installing the lights, so all of the installation would be performed by the county throughout the year, and we would just be simply purchasing the equipment. If you go to if we go to the next screen here, you'll see the LED light project, or the portion of the project, is $55,000 is what we've allotted for it. We are going to submit, though, for Focus on Energy for a rebate when we get those LED lights. So hopefully that project budget will be able to go down if we are accepted, which we should be. The savings then on an annual basis would be $5,200. And that's where the spreadsheet was very large. Rick Helms, our expo manager, who runs the Sunnyview Expo Center, he put together a fantastic cost breakdown, which I will send all to all the county board members after this meeting, so you can see all the work he put into to calculate that $5,200 annual savings and how much it is even per light fixture for the savings. So that would be that's one of the main portions of this maintenance project. The second part of the maintenance project that we're looking to do in this area, you can see in the pictures here is the barn area, is the existing pavement. We have areas that are, as you can see, spider cracking, they're sinking. The pavement is original from when this area was developed. So they're well over 25 years old at this point, the road areas. So you can see in the picture on the far right, right now there's no gravel, or I should say there's no asphalt leading up to our manure pits. We'd like to install asphalt in that area because you can actually see in this picture, and this picture is even from this year, that brown is manure. So it's very hard to properly clean up after the events when we scoop out, and we're raking up and we're spending a lot of staff time cleaning up that area. And that's even after a winter of it sitting. So we're looking to install asphalt there, and we're looking to repair the rest. I will, on the second page here, you'll be able to see I highlighted the covered arena that I was referring to with the LED lights is on that far east end of the picture, or the far right end of the picture. And then our 4 barns, barn A, B, C, and D, from top to bottom, are barn areas where we're looking to replace those LED lights. Well, that asphalt area is there in between all of those barns. So at this point, we'd be proposing to have county highway come out, and they gave us a project budget of $60,000. One thing I do also want to point out that is definitely an issue, you'll notice on this picture on the far left, the road pitches towards the barns. So a lot of our water is going into the barns. And actually, you can't see it here in this picture, but there's a barn very similar to this one with doors, and it's covered. And that is barn B, and the water goes right into the barn. So on heavy rains, there'll be water right in the barn. What we're proposing to do with this project also is to move all the water to this side of the road, pitch it, and then send it south, which actually I'm going to switch over this one. We're to send south on and make a ditch along the road here that will go to an existing ditch here that goes to the east and crosses the road. Now, for those of you that may not know, right now the Parks Department is performing a larger capital project just south of here at the Sunnyview Expo Center, where we're building we're putting in two retention ponds. So this water then would also go to those two ponds and be able to better service the area. The third, more minor piece of the project is you can see these doors that I have circled in yellow with yellow circles do not have gutters over them. Staff do not feel it would be at all worth the investment to gutter the entire barn. However, what we're looking to do for our users, and this is more so our users have a better experience, is you can imagine in a larger, heavier rain, the rain's coming down right where everyone's always exiting the barns. And these are just a few of the doors. If I go back actually to, I apologize, I'll go a little slower. If I go back to here too, we have openings in our covered our open air barns on the outside. Obviously we wouldn't put gutters on this side, but just to show you, there's these openings too along the north and south side. We'd also place some small gutter sections in those areas, just basically to stop the rain and the erosion right in front of the doors, where it typically erodes right at the foot of the door. So this portion of the project would be $12,000. And this picture right here is actually a picture of the covered arena currently. And you can kind of see what we've already done over there. This is one of those openings. You can see we have a gutter from here to here. Rather than spanning the entire length of the building, we put it over the important sections. You'll see another gutter there at the end, and that's just simply because rain was pouring on top of our boxes here, our electrical boxes. Now, obviously, for safety reasons, we wanted to install one there as well. But this would be the similar concept as what we'd be looking to do here. Then the piece of the project that we're not requesting for when we come back to the board in May for this request is we're having issues with the insulation and with paint. We need to paint the steel. So originally in our capital improvement plan, we were proposing to paint the steel. However, when we ran into, and we still would like to do that. However, when we've been working with painting contractors this spring to solidify our pricing and to have them come out and look at the area, their concern is that when we sandblast the metal and sandblast off the rust, is that we're also going to be just naturally, some of the sandblasting is going to be hitting the insulation. And you can see how brittle our insulation is right now. This insulation is installed so that way it's a noise dampener. Obviously, it's not a covered, enclosed arena, but if there was not the insulation, then the noise from the rain and with the horses and with trying to have a conversation during a large rain event would be nearly impossible. So we're having issues with the insulation. So staff wanted to take this piece of the project out for now and bring it back in fall, because we would like to work with some contractors and find the best solution. So far, we've worked with 2 or 3 different contractors. Each one has a different solution. So we would like to come back to the county board for the painting portion of the project. And you can see here the steel structures that I was referring to that are rusting. They're by no means at a point where they're deteriorating, but that's exactly why we want to do this regular maintenance, is we want to address the rust now while we are able to and while it's worthwhile, and then paint over it so it can last many more years. So at this point, just a recap, the LED light conversion is the $55,000, blacktop improvement $60,000, and then gutters for $12,000 for a total current request of $127,000. In the CIP, or the capital improvement plan, we did also have $115,000 in there for paint, but the insulation was not included. The capital improvement plan called for $190,000 last year. The the 2 items that did go up in cost slightly with LED lights, just simply material costs over the year, and with our blacktop improvements as the asphalt prices have gone up this spring as well. So this will be a more formal request, and it's just here for presentation this evening. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. And if Rick Helms is also there as well, he could also help answer any questions about this project.
Supervisor Defferding.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one quick question. I may have missed this part too, But in regards to the LED lights, what's the estimated lifespan of those LED lights?
Is Rick Helms, are you in the boardroom?
Go ahead, Rick.
So the lights that we're looking to purchase have a 10-year warranty. The general life expectancy is between 20 and 25 years, if I recall correctly. And the payback with this is approximately 8 years.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Eisen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I heard it correctly, you said the request for this project would be $127,000. Is that correct?
Yes, at this time we'd be requesting 127,000. However, I wanted to be completely transparent with the board in that we did pull a piece out of the project for now. And the reasoning for our coming for the request now is due to the season for obviously blacktop installation, and also for being able, we're installing almost 100 LED lights. So the facilities department was going to do it slowly throughout the year, barn by barn. And so that's why we wanted to make sure before those types of materials went up in price and while the blacktop season was here.
Okay, so that is 38,000 less than what is within the capital improvements plan.
It's about 63,000 under the 190,000 at this point, yes.
Well, the current capital improvements plan on page 52 states 165,000 for Sunnyview Expo LED lights and painting.
I apologize.
You might be using last year's 5-year plan. The one I have in front of me is this year's 5-year plan, and it's 165,000, so the request is 38,000 less than listed. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Gabbert.
Adam, this is just a side note, but maybe not everybody knows. We take in quite a bit of money for horse shows out there as revenue. So I'm hearing from horse owners that it needs some repairs out there, and having their horses stand in water or having to walk through muck or uneven surfaces isn't really good. Maybe you could just clarify roughly, I can't remember how many events we have out there, but what we get in a weekend per event, and during the season we have a lot of horse shows out there. So we are making money off of this facility, so we should keep it in good repair. Thank you.
Can one of you speak to that?
Yes, absolutely. Rick, I know in conversations with Rick that we are almost full every weekend this summer, but I'll let Rick speak more towards it because that's his daily.
Pretty much, our first show opens with the 4-H show the weekend before Memorial Day. And then from there on, we are booked pretty much every single weekend. I think we have one current opening through Labor Day. So you're talking all the way through the end of September. We have a horse show every single weekend, except for Life Fest, County Fair, and I think we have one open spot. The horse shows vary. The small horse show would be 2 barns, and that's probably around $9,000 to $10,000 in income. To the larger shows that use every facility we have, and depending on the number of show days, whether it's a 3-day show or a 4-day show, those can average between $18,000 and $21,000 per weekend. So it is quite a bit, and that's why we are trying to address some of the issues to make sure that the clientele is taken care of, that they come back, keep returning, as a lot of them have for 15 to 20 years.
Thank you. Supervisor Stafford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question. In terms of the estimates themselves, have we locked into those, or do we have any concern about having to revise them with inflationary pressures?
That's a really good question. We have not locked into any of those. However, we did update them before the Parks Committee meeting that was on April 12th. So, if we stay on track for a May approval, obviously before the May meeting, we will make sure to double check with vendors. And many of these items are going to have to be bid out due to them being over the $25,000 threshold. So for instance, the lights. So we're going to have to get competitive bidding anyways, but we will definitely make sure our budget numbers are still in check when it comes to the board in May.
Anyone else have any questions? Not seeing any. We thank you both. And we'll be seeing you all later for these.
Thank you very much.
Next is the approval of committees. Now this year, all 5 were there that were on the committee on committees. It wasn't just done in a snap either. Some have been on some have been on 2 or 3, 2, 3, 1, and we did the best that we could. Some of you that were on bigger committees maybe only got 1 choice or whatever, but it was broke up the best that we thought that it could, and all 5 of us had our say in it, and then we decided and we went back and forth on some of them. So there was some differences on some of them, but it all come to conclusion when it come down for the vote how it went. So now do we do these by committee also?
Do you want a motion to approve the committee?
Okay. Motion made and seconded and approved the 2022-2024 Winnebago County Committee on Committees as presented on the worksheet. I just have one thing, and I can do it afterwards being chairman, but just so you know, I'm going to announce it now that on the Parks and Recreation Committee, Supervisor Gordon feels though she cannot do it for personal reasons. So I was going to, and I will appoint, whether we do it now or we do it later, I will appoint Supervisor Powers. She had asked to go on this committee, so she was one of them. So that's who I will be appointing to go on that committee.
Well, without objection, I think we can just include that in the committee assignment, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So without objection, the one that made the motion went ahead and said that we'll just include that right along with it. Was the second go along with that also? Okay, second went along with that. So they'll all stand as is, other than that one correction. Supervisor Gordon will go off and Supervisor Powers will be put on that place. So we have a motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried. Okay, now we'll recess. For those of you that it's your first time, we recess and go into your committees. So we'll start like with aviation. We'll have them come right over here. We'll just kind of break up because that's what you'll vote. You'll vote on your chairman, your vice chairman, and a secretary. And then whoever gets to be the chairman or whatever will have to come up here to Julie, I believe, is going to take it, and tell her who the officers are. So the aviation wants to come over here, and facilities here, highway over here, just kind of mingle in and make sure you're all together. So make sure everyone's in there. There's a couple that's missing, but. Mr. Chairman? Yes, sir. You'll have to run fast and hurry up, and if you want to be chairman, you better hurry quick. Thank you. You're welcome.
Well, if you wait to look at the agenda and the resolutions, like it's about this big, and you try to spread it out, and you can't read it. So she said, this is gonna be an issue. I just figured it would be able because my stuff, those packets from like UPS, it always goes to CVS, and I kept checking, so this is how today I called, I said, are you sure I have no packet down there? So I thought, okay, we're using the laptop. Then I got like, how do I look at it's okay, I can follow it on the, I'm toggling back and forth. But if this can't be fixed, we're gonna have to go back and make everybody's packets again. No, and we did, emailed everybody. Like always goes to CVS. Because UPS delivers my stuff here. Was it from UPS or FedEx, whichever one it is. UPS packages go to CVS. Earnest money down more than 2 weeks ago on my condo I run, it hasn't shown up. I'm paying $2,000. Yeah. $2,000 check. My grandson got his, my granddaughter got hers. It's $25 I can replace that. I'm buying ones across the street, so let's see, it's still in my district, still in the same condo association. But it's bigger. I think I want to it is quarterly. When I first joined, because I was so broke because of all the money into the ground, I begged to pay monthly because I couldn't come in. Now I'm paying cash for a condo. That's how my life has changed.
The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly.
Okay, it's just about time to come back to order, so get your committees resolved.
The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org.
I just want to remind
This
all the
is
committees,
GovTV,
after your first
opening
meeting, you'll have to
accessibility and
decide on your
understanding of
times,
local
your
government,
days and
helping
everything.
you to be informed and
I will
involved.
say that Planning and Zoning does have one tomorrow morning at 7:30 in the morning, and also one tomorrow night at 6:30, so they will have to make their choice also after that. But, so after your first meeting, you'll have to make your choice. We could have done it tonight, but I know some of the meetings, or some of the committees are going to meet right away, like Planning and Zoning, some of the other ones might too, so, so do it right at your first meeting. Yeah, they do. Oh. Facilities, I can tell them who they are. Facilities is Andy Buck. Chair. Vice Chair is Jim Weiss. And Secretary is that Swan again? Here are your new committee chairs and vice chairs and secretary. Aviation Chair, Mary Beth Gabbert. Vice Chair, Supervisor Schellinger. Secretary, Beam. For Facility Property Management Committee, Chair, Supervisor Buck. Vice Chair is Wise, and Secretary is Swan. Highway Chair is Albrecht. Vice Chair is Nussbaum. Secretary is Harrison. Information Systems, Chairman is Softson. Vice Chairman is Peschel, and Secretary is Dowling. Judiciary and Public Safety Committee, your Chair is Stafford. Vice Chair is Defferding, and Secretary is Flom. Land Conservation Committee, Chair is Fari. Vice Chairman is Gordon, and Secretary is Horan. Horan, Horan. Parkview Health Center Committee. Chairman is Schellinger. Vice Chairman is Peschel. Secretary is Norton. Parks and Recreation. Chair is Norton. Vice Chair is Dowling. Secretary is Powers. Personal and Finance. Chair is Cox. Vice Chairman is Ellenberger. And Nussbaum Secretary. Planning and Zoning, Chair is Hintz, Vice Chairman is Gabbert, Secretary is Sesteria. UW Extension, Chair is Bender, Vice Chair is Powers, Secretary is Borchardt. All right. Zoning reports and ordinance, mandatory ordinance number 040122, Town of Oshkosh zoning ordinance, amends section 16, 3-21, parent 10, parent D, passive recreation code. Supervisor Gabbert. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Amended. Any discussion? Not seeing any. Supervisor Gabbert, did you have something? I just see your light was.
No.
Okay. So no other discussion and no show of hands. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried. Resolution number 3104, 2022. Commentary of John Schneider. Supervisor Cox.
John Snyder began his career with Winnebago County.
Need to get you closer to your microphone, Supervisor Cox. Thank you.
John Snyder began his career with Winnebago County as a summer employee in 1974. He was retired. He was hired on a permanent as a permanent employee In 1976, promoted to a Class 3 operator in 1985. In 1995, John was assigned to a paver operator position, which he held until his retirement. John spent many years perched atop a paver in the hot summer days, laying asphalt at temperatures of 300 degrees directly below him. He never wavered nor complained. Over his 45 years of service, John enjoyed plowing snow and wished to plow snow his last day of work, which was answered when he called in on March 7th. John is looking forward to enjoying his retirement years with the family and friends and many peaceful days fishing with his brother. Please join me in expressing our best wishes as he enjoys his retirement.
Did you make the motion, Supervisor Cox, for that?
I make a motion that we accept the commendation for John Snyder.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Supervisor Bender.
I just want to say I had the privilege of working with John for 24 years. I don't think there was a better operator in the county, and he ran that paver for over 30 years. He'll greatly be missed. I mean, there's nobody that had more knowledge than that man had. His dad was basically a superintendent at the highway department. He started there when he was 18 years old. It's the only job he had his whole life, and he took a lot of pride in what he did. So I just want to thank John for all the years of service.
Thank you. Resolution 3204, 2022. Whoops, I'm sorry. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Carried. Resolution number 3204, 2022, commendation for Robert Lund. Supervisor Cox.
In Winnebago County as a maintenance technician in the solid waste department. In October 2000, Rob's position was reclassified to mechanical technician in 2016, a position he kept until his retirement. Throughout his tenure, Rob was responsible for making sure the land gas to energy systems at Winnebago County landfills operated at the optimal level. He was an asset to the department and proved himself as hardworking and dependable, and was looking up to for his outstanding troubleshooting skills in a variety of electromechanical applications. He was strongly committed to doing his job and completing assignments in the right way. After 21 years of county service, Rob retired in April of 2022 and plans to spend more time to enjoy his family and his hobbies. Please join me in expressing our best wishes to Rob Lund as he enjoys his retirement.
Is that a motion, Supervisor Cox?
I have a motion to accept the commendation for Rob Lynn and his retirement and employment to Winnebago County Solid Waste Department.
So I hear a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Carried.
One more.
Resolution number 3304, 2022, commendation of Sarah House. Supervisor Cox.
There we go. Sarah House retired on April 1st, 2022, after 28 years of service with Winnebago County. She spent most of her career as a social worker on what was then the Oshkosh Child and Family Team. a combined child protective services delinquency team within the Department of Social Services. Sarah continued to work with youth and families involved with youth justice, devoting nearly 23 years of her career as a social work specialist, overseeing the Oshkosh Electronic Monitoring Program. We sincerely miss Sarah's genuine warmth, compassion, insight, and kindness. At the same time, we rejoice in knowing Sarah's influence lives on with every youth she believed in, every parent she supported and guided, and every coworker with whom she modeled, and that all people are worthy of respect, deserving kindness, and capable of success, and full of infinite possibilities. With that, I move that we accept the commendation for Sarah House. She's been employed with Winnebago County Department of Human Services for the past 28 years.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? Not seeing any lights on. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried. Resolution number 3404-2022, compensation for informational session. Supervisor Eisen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for approval of resolution number 3404-2022, compensation for informational session.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? Supervisor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It costs money to run for election or re-election, and new members who attended the voluntary meeting had not been sworn in and were therefore private citizens. We have a policy of not paying private citizens for attending meetings, and if we decide to pay this compensation, we're setting a precedent that I don't think we can sustain, that every time a private citizen shows up at a meeting, he or she could turn in a sheet for being reimbursed. I don't really see as well why a supervisor with 14, 16, 20, and 22 years should be paid for a refresher class. They should know what they're doing. We currently have a board which has been meeting for over 8 months. The chair of the board is a private citizen, and that particular board has never been officially listed as a county committee, commission, or board, and therefore the chairwoman of that board has served for over 8 months, and she is not entitled to be paid for her work because she is a private citizen and it's not listed as a committee. So I'm voting no on this.
Supervisor Gabbard.
I'm going to vote no because I don't want to be paid. I went for the orientation meeting and see how it was presented. Because when I came on the county board, I had no idea what was going on. So I wanted to see what was happening. I had no intent of getting paid, so I'm going to vote no on this.
Supervisor Gustafson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to agree with both Supervisor Power and Supervisor Gabbard. I'm very appreciative of the resolution brought forward by Supervisor Eisen, but I believe that a lot of us new supervisors that did come in were under the impression that we were elected to represent and serve, and that meant whatever it meant necessary to prepare ourselves for this moment. So I will also be voting no on this resolution. Thank you.
Supervisor Eisen.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is altogether appropriate to compensate these elected county board supervisors who attended the informational session. At the organization meeting, it was demonstrated that those attending newly elected supervisors were well prepared for rigorous debate, demonstrating confidence instilled by the informational session. Thank you, County Executive Domo.
Supervisor Albrecht.
I don't believe they should be compensated for that meeting for the simple fact they weren't sworn in yet as county board supervisors.
Supervisor Plum.
I'd like to echo that. At that point in time, I and the rest of the new county board members were private citizens. I myself, I live very close to the cab building, so it was a rather short commute for me. That's why I don't think I should be supporting this, and I won't be. I also was only able to attend for half the meeting given a engagement that I had prior, so I will not be supporting this.
Supervisor Fran.
I was not expecting any compensation. In fact, the very fact that I see this as a civic duty means that I'm pleased and surprised that there's going to be some income, but I certainly don't need to be compensated for that time.
Supervisor Norton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm against it too, but I will say this. I think for future years, I think, as I remember when I first got on this board and elected in 2000, there was a rule, it's not in there anymore, that there was an orientation meeting and new supervisors were able to get like a half day. So in the future, I think we can maybe consider that. And the only thing I would, and if I could, maybe I would amend and take out supervisors from District 20, 33, 12, 30, and 4, if I can do that, but if not, that's a sort, and I just vote against it because it was not in their rules. I think maybe in the future it's a good idea because, like I say, me, and when I got elected, we did have it. So you had to come an hour before, so that's my views. Thank you.
Supervisor Binder.
When the meeting was posted, it was posted no per diem would be paid. You know, I commend the supervisors that showed up and wanted to learn. I'm the same way. I go to a lot of committee meetings that I'm not officially on, but I'm interested in what they're talking about. I don't get paid for them, but I have the interest of wanting to know what's going on in the county, and I'm not surely here to make $50 going to a meeting. So I think they all went with the true interest of wanting to be good supervisors and learn. And if it wasn't posted that it was no per diem, I would agree with it, but it was posted, everybody knew there was no money to be made, so I think they went out of basically wanting the knowledge to be a good supervisor, so I would be voting against it.
Supervisor Nelson.
I just canceled mine. I'm echoing the same sentiments as Supervisor Binder. It was posted, we all knew there was no per diem. I also wonder whether we can even vote on it or whether we should all on this list be abstaining from this vote. So I would be voting no also.
Okay. So there's a motion made and I don't know if there was even a second on that. There's a discussion, so there must have been. Yes. So not seeing any other discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay.
Nay.
It's not passed. Resolution number 3504, 2022, create an ad hoc structure review committee to review committee structure in Winnebago County. Supervisor Sesteria. Sesteria, I'll get it right one of these times.
There you are.
There you go.
Oh, sorry. So I would like to make a resolution to create an ad hoc structure review committee to review committee structure in Winnebago County.
Is there a second? Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Supervisor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I propose an amendment to this resolution. I move that we postpone this to the May 17th meeting and ask for a report for up to the first 5 committees, commissions, or boards to face restructure. And these would have to have a track record of at least, in order to evaluate their work, of at least 3 years. So we can, we'll have, consist of the committees and commissions and boards fully appointed for at least 3 years. The report would include areas where the said committee, commission, or board has failed to live up to its stated mission, on which the committee, commission, and board is duplicating work by work done by another committee, commission, or board, and which committee, commission, or board would be taking over the duties of that said current committee, commission, or board, when we do this restructure.
Motion made and seconded for that amendment. Can you repeat that, please? No. They're going to need a copy of what you had said,
Should I just tear it out and give it to her?
please. So they have it for the record to make sure it's worded right. Yes, we have a second. Supervisor Dowling, on the amendment.
I would agree with what Supervisor Powers had just said. I would also like to bring up the fact that this was discussed at the meeting last week with an overwhelming majority that this should be a decision we all make together without an ad hoc committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Gabbard, on the amendment.
No, I'll wait until that, I'll wait.
Supervisor Norton, on the amendment.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Where exactly does the amendment go? I didn't get that clearly.
I didn't see it and I couldn't follow it all, so I'll have to ask the ladies if they can read it. And
Let me see if I can decipher this, and if not, I'm going to ask Supervisor Powers for some assistance. So Supervisor Powers proposes an amendment to this resolution. I move that we postpone this resolution to the May 17th meeting and ask for a report for up to the first 5 committees. Ask for a report for up to the first 5 committees, commissions, and boards to restructure. I can't. I'm going to need your help here because
I screwed fast.
just read it slowly. So
I move that we postpone this to the May 17th meeting and ask for a report for up to the first 5 committee, commission, and boards facing restructure. These would have to have a track record in order to evaluate the work, so we will consider committee, commission, and boards which have been fully appointed for at least 3 years. The report would include areas where said committee, commission, or board has failed to live up to its stated mission, and which committee, commission, and board is duplicating work done by another committee, commission, or board, and which committee or commission or board would take over the duties of the current committee, commission, or board in this restructure.
I have a question. Who is supposed to make and create and present this report? That's my first question.
The person making the motion would be having to show reason why we're doing this.
So you expect Supervisor, Zanara to present this report?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I, and are you saying it should be limited to the first 5 committees, commissions, and boards that are listed in?
The first 5 that appear to the person making the motion that she thinks these ought to be restructured. So what are the top 5 that we're going to look at restructuring? That's the I should have said top 5 instead of first 5?
Well, no, but just so, because looking at the resolution, it talks about basically creating an ad hoc structure committee that will consist of 5 county board supervisors. So you are fine with that piece of it? So the ad hoc committee consisting of 5 county board supervisors would look at the first 5 committees, or are you asking Supervisor Estera?
I'm asking her to come up with a reason why we're restructuring these and combining them and give us a report for the first 5 she'd like to see restructured and have the ad hoc committee look at.
we've got some ahead of you, and then I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Supervisor Flom.
Mr. Chairman, and for the author of the amendment, wouldn't that be the business of the ad hoc committee once the ad hoc committee is formed, picks its members, and elects its officers? Wouldn't that be their first order of business to say, okay, these are the committees that we should look at restructuring. These are the duties that they will then shuffle back into different committees, and then that would be a part of their prepared report to the board at large? I'm just a little confused because I don't really know what that means. I guess if you're saying, like, if you're asking Supervisor Zastera to identify the 5, isn't that the business of the committee that she's proposing?
And I think, and I certainly don't want to speak for Supervisor Powers, but she is making an amendment to this resolution, which she has every right to do. But Supervisor Flom makes a good point. But again, as a supervisor, you have every right to make an amendment, but it's a bit convoluted.
Yes.
Who has that? Supervisor Hintz.
I'm confused about this because at first this is moving to move it back, which is a separate thing entirely than an amendment. Which are we talking about right now? Because it starts out saying we're moving it to a different meeting date. And we need to know what the motion actually is.
I believe from what I understand of the motion is she wants to move it back to the May meeting. Am I correct, Supervisor Powers?
Correct.
And then look at it from there? Is that what you're asking?
I think I was just concerned that a supervisor who has not attended, has not been appointed to attended a single meeting as a supervisor, suddenly wants all of these committees and commissions and boards to be restructured. And I don't know that that's really what we want to do. Committee, commissions, and boards already take a couple of hours, and if we're starting to start combining them, I don't see that working. But I'd like to know which are the top 5 she would like to see face restructure. We can't possibly be planning to restructure all of our committees, so let's start with the first 5 most egregious ones.
Supervisor Stafford on the amendment?
Yes, on the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just going to echo Supervisor Flom's comments. I believe that is, as I look at this, that is the intention of this ad hoc committee, is to do exactly what you're saying, and that is to look at all of the committees and come up with a recommendation for the board to discuss, not for them to make the decision. At least that's how I read that.
I guess my fear is that we're sort of buying a pig in a poke. If we don't know what the ad hoc committee is going to be looking at, we're agreeing to have them go over committees, and we don't even know which ones they're looking at. I'd like to know which ones in particular are looking at facing a possible chopping block.
And perhaps we can ask for clarification, but I believe it's all of them.
That's what I would think, all of them.
And I would say if you look to, that's like, line 17, an ad hoc committee formed to review Winnebago County committee structure. So this is the entire structure. Is that correct? Where are you? Supervisor Zastara?
Zastera, yes. This is solely for the purpose of investigating based on just propriety, seeing that, nothing may change, but it's a matter of looking at it through a committee, and I don't know if that committee, it needs to be open meetings. That was my intention, is that people can also attend and give feedback. But I think that, we feel that it's just in the best interest of the county to really look at where we're at right now with the restructuring, and to have that committee focus in on that.
I'm sorry, who's the we? Because you're the only one who signed this. Who's the we?
I don't know yet. I'm proposing it to have an ad. So be it further resolved by the Winnebago County Board of Supervisors that the ad hoc structural review committee shall consist of 5 Winnebago County Board of Supervisors to be appointed by the Winnebago County Board Chair.
We got an amendment on the floor, and we got the original on the floor, so I'm going. So, and a motion postponed. We've got Supervisor Eisen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that we refer this to the Judiciary Committee that deals with rules, that deals with committees, that this can be aired in a smaller forum, and it can be massaged out to the satisfaction of the maker of the motion and also the amender of the motion. So I think that would be an appropriate place unless someone else knows a better committee to move it to.
Mr. Chair, can I just make a point?
I have a second on that, but go ahead.
Do we first have to address the current motion on the table?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Before we can do this?
Well, I've got some other questions here before. So we've got lights on here.
Unless Supervisor Powers is going to withdraw her motion.
I'll withdraw it to go to judiciary.
And I second judiciary.
Supervisor Peschel, finally.
Well, I was prepared to speak to the First Amendment, so, and I guess I'll just kind of speak freely in regards to this. So the initial amendment that was placed, the intent of it is for the author to prove that there's something wrong with our committee structure. That's
Recording in progress.
That's the crux of what that attempt was. Just to be absolutely clear, that's what the attempt of that was. Because as a new person on the board, I don't know if there's anything wrong with our committee structure, commission structure, or any of that. So I don't really know that because I have never served on one of these committees. It's hard for me to make that determination without absolutely serving on something and knowing and understanding. I can, as a public and as a citizen, observe what goes on at these committees by attending that. But I'll be honest with you, I'm learning that. I've only attended a couple county committees and commissions, and I can't make that assertion. So I think it's really important that having the proof to be able to validate why we would create such a committee is really important. And I think that's what she was getting to. So with that, any of us have the ability to author a resolution that suggests any of this. We're also afforded the ability to amend that further or to vote it up or down. And so I myself am interested in this enough to support it going to judicial because I believe it creates a sufficient review and typical practice that I think takes place from what my understanding of stuff like this. So that would be where I would probably lean towards. So thank you for the time.
Thank you. Supervisor Bender.
Jurisdictional and Public Safety had something like this about a month or two ago. I attended it on Zoom, and they've turned it down. I mean, I'm not opposed to going back there, and there's 4 new members on that if they want to look into it. But I can tell you from my experience as a committee member, some of them our meetings last like 2.5 hours, and if you try to combine 2 committees together, you're going to be looking at 4 or 5 hour meetings. And you've seen what happened, you know, the first 3 resolutions at our organization meeting took 4 hours, and we went through basically like 25 of them after that in 2 hours. So what happens is the first hour is real productive and you get a lot done in the committee meeting, and then as time goes on, you just want to get out of there, so you don't really give it the time that it deserves. You know, I'm not opposed to somebody looking into them, but if you're going to try to make these meetings 3 to 5 hours long, you're not going to get the justice that most of these things deserve. So, you know, look at it, but I truly don't want to see where we're having committee meetings that are lasting 3 to 5 hours.
Supervisor Stafford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a point, the recommendation that was proposed to JPS previously was not voted on. So it was just a presentation. And no action was taken, but no action was actually requested either. So just so we're clear on that piece. I just wanted to clarify that.
I just want to clarify it a little bit more. That was brought there and there was no action taken. The chairman said that he didn't even want to bring it on, but he brought it on because somebody else was, so the chairman pulled it off. They didn't even want to talk about it. So that's what it was. It wasn't just voted on, the chairman had pulled it. So there is a motion on the floor and seconded that it goes to personal and finance. Oh, general, right, so I'm sorry, judicial. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
On the amendment, right?
On the amendment, right.
Aye, okay, aye.
Right. On the amendment here. On the referral to go to, right, judiciary. Right? Right, okay. Right. That's passed. Right. Yep. Supervisor Peschel.
Thank you for the opportunity. I wonder if you might just call for that vote again, because at the same time that you were calling for that vote, Mr. Norton was asking for a clarification of what we were voting on.
Okay, the motion was to go ahead and to give it to the judicial committee to study these committees on it. That's what it was on.
All right.
Any other discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Carried. Ordinance number 36.
Wait.
No. Well, that's why it is. They sent it to them. It was just voted to send to them. That's why we stated. Unless I'm wrong. Right. Right. Karen was, Supervisor Powers withdrew hers. Ordinance number 3604, 2022, amend section 11.11 of General Code of Winnebago County. Amend Appendix A, Winnebago County Public Health Department, 2022-2023, permit fee scheduled. Board of Health. Mike, were you going to take this? Supervisor Norton? Do I hear a second? Motion's made and seconded. Discussion. Supervisor Depperding.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, just looking at this. There we go. Just looking at this, it looks like there really isn't any changes made to the permit fee schedule here, but there's an expected increase of about 10 to 11% next year. Is that correct?
Yes, and Mr. Chairman? I would like to, I believe Doug Gearing is in the back of the room, and he could explain. I know he explained it at the Board of Health meeting.
The current fees are established annually, and about 10% of the fee currently is reimbursed to the state to support state activities. That fee will be increased by 1% to 11% next year and to 12% the next year after that. So at a minimum, we would have an increase in fees related to the state increase in fees, but we would also have likely an additional local fee increase since we've held fees flat over the past 2 years.
Okay, thank you.
Not seeing any other lights on. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Carried. Resolution number 3704, 2022, authorize entering Wisconsin statewide mutual aid compact for local emergency management assistance that will establish process and policies for requesting and being asked to provide statewide emergency management mutual aid. Supervisor Eisen. Let me get you here.
I move for the approval of resolution number 37042022.
Motion made and seconded. I see-
Authorize entering the Wisconsin statewide mutual aid compact for a local emergency management assistance that will establish a process and policy for requesting and being asked to provide statewide emergency management mutual aid.
Not seeing any lights on. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Carried. Resolution number 38, adopt Winnebago County Hazardous Migration Plan Update. Supervisor Eisen.
The approval of resolution 38042022. Adopt the Winnebago County Hazard Mitigation Plan Update.
Motion made and seconded.
To remain compliant with FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Administration, for the receipt of federal grant monies for hazard mitigation, that is floods, storms, accident, disasters. This updated plan needs approval. Each 5 years since July 2004, the plan has been approved. It's our turn now.
Supervisor Dowling.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will not be voting for this only because the document refers to draft version 7, which was supposed to be available on the county board website and was not. I did not receive the document until 3:25 p.m. this evening. It is a 300-page document. It was not included in our meeting packet. I do not think it is responsible for us to be voting on this at this time, and I would like to request that we push it back to our next meeting. I make a motion to push it back to the next meeting. I apologize. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? The motion is just. Supervisor Nussbaum.
Are we under a timeline?
Yes, this plan has been in process for approximately 2 years. Okay. This plan the update has been in process for about 2 years. It is due to go to FEMA after you approve the plan, and we have to get their approval done by the end of July to be within the time frame of the grant in order to get the grant funds released to us. We could possibly hold it until next month if that's your preference, but we can't hold it out any longer than that, or we won't get it done, and we will lose the grant funding that we have for it.
Thank you. So you're sending out an amended agenda anyways, that could be added onto there? Right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I request to speak again.
Okay, you're on.
Okay, I would ask the members of the board to look at the resolution and read the agenda item report. The background. Mutual aid has been a long-standing practice in the field of emergency management. When disaster strikes, emergency management officers are tasked with an immense number of tasks that quickly overwhelm our small staffs. In these times, we rely on our counterparts from other counties for support. For example, in 2018, floods impacted 272 homes in Sauk County. The Mutual Aid Office spent time in Sauk County conducting damage assessments and running a donation center. With our assistance, Sauk County was able to document the damages and receive more than $2.9 million in FEMA public assistance. Wisconsin Emergency Management, in conjunction with the Wisconsin Emergency Management Association, have developed this agreement, procedure, and request form to formalize this process. We entered into a similar mutual aid agreement within our region in 2009. However, as disasters continue to grow in size and complexity, additional emergency managements from outside our region may be necessary, and this agreement will standardize a process to facilitate the support. This is a new agreement, compact for Winnebago County. Being so, the item requires county board approval before entering the agreement. And the agreement is to vote for this. The committee voted for it, and if you want to read the 365-page details, you're welcome to do it, but I urge you to go forward and approve this simple agreement, which has been approved every 5 years since the initiation of it. There's no need to postpone this. This is micromanaging. You don't want to micromanage.
Thank you. We do have a motion made and seconded on the floor to hold until the next business meeting. So that'll be the first thing that we'll vote on. Any other discussion? Any other? May 17th will be our next business meeting, so it'll be held till then if this goes through. So any other discussion on that? Not hearing any. All those in favor of holding it till May 17th signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
The nays have it. Now we'll go back to the original motion. To go ahead and adopt the Winnebago County Hazardous Mitigation Plan update. We had a motion made and seconded. Any discussion on that? Supervisor Eisen.
I request a recorded vote, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? I see no other discussion, so we will be recording, so you'll go ahead and vote on your iPads. Robinson and Buck. Robinson is okay. And it is passed. Item 3904-2022, resolution to support NACO's position on defining the waters of the United States, WOTUS, and regulations with agricultural consideration. Vice Chairman Fari.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me? My mic's this is good? Okay, thank you. I move for approval of resolution 3904-2022. Brief explanation, WOTUS is an acronym for Waters of the United States. Now, this is EPA, the federal government. This administrative rule is what they're proposing, was proposed in 2015, and it was eventually not approved by the United States Senate and I believe the House of Representatives. It goes through a committee. The administrative rule is now being proposed again under the new administration. In other words, President Biden has authorized the EPA to bring it forward once more. NACO, if you're all familiar, is the National Association of Counties. That's our national group. They brought us to our attention, and the committee has reviewed it just as the statement that's within the disposition of NACO. in a nutshell, if this is approved by the federal government, we are very afraid that they would have local control over what we now determine to be waters of the state of Wisconsin. So in other words, worst case scenario, if Winnebago County wanted to clean out a ditch that had water in it, we might have to get a federal permit to do that. Agricultural related, if we wanted to clean out a pond or dig a pond or establish a pond that was connected to a water source such as a channel, then we might have to get a federal permit to do that. We believe and strongly believe that it is in the best interest to not be subject to the federal control of our waters. So I would urge you to support this. If there's any other questions, we have the director of the Land Water Conservation Department in the back. He'd be happy to address those also.
Supervisor Dowling.
Thank you very much. I would just like to point out that in the agenda item report, attached under policy disclosures, it refers to WOTUS as the following: traditional navigable waters, interstate waters, and territorial seas. Based on the definitions above from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Winnebago County has no such waters. Thank you.
Could I ask the Director of Land Conservation to address that comment, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, if you'd like to come forward.
Sure, thank you.
Chad.
So the traditional waters, that would be water that we do have, traditional navigable water, we do have that within Winnebago County. So that would be like your perennial streams, it would be lakes and those sort of things, to give you an example for traditional. And then this would expand that to be, for example, tributaries that would connect with traditional water bodies. So that would be like Supervisor Fari was stating, it could be ditches, it could be just simply tributaries connecting with those traditional water bodies, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Supervisor Defferting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do fully support this motion. I think that when I was at the NACO Legislative Conference in Washington, D.C. In February, this was one that crossed by my desk, and there's not really too many of them in NACOs that I agree with, but this was actually one that I found very refreshing because it will give us more localized control, and that's very, very important. And as a person working on, who is now formally on the Planning and Zoning Committee, and seeing how national policy can slowly creep into private property rights too, this is something where it's important for us to have localized control, and so I fully support this motion. Thank you.
Not seeing any other lights. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Carried. Item 40, request authority to apply for and accept funds from the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources for the Grumman Boat Landing Renovation and Improvement Project. Vice Chairman Fari. Oh, Parks and Recreation, I'm sorry. Supervisor Norton.
Dash 042022.
Motion made and seconded.
Just briefly, and I believe the Park Structure is online. This is to do with the Grumman Boat Landing Project. For you who are new, we've been working on this project for over a year. It's a project that brought to our attention from the neighbors in the area and needs much needed improvement. We need this resolution to apply for the DNR grant. And if any more questions, I think Director is on the line still.
Not seeing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried. Resolution 4104-2022, request authority to apply for and accept funds for maintenance of county-owned and leased snowmobile trails. Supervisor Norton.
Yep, make a motion to accept and approve Resolution 41-042022. yearly. All this does is to accept the funds that we get and we give to the snowmobile clubs to do the maintenance and the grooming on the trails, snowmobile trails.
Supervisor Fari.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Norton, I received a call today from the chairman of the town of Oshkosh concerned about grant funds for the trail. Now, this might be a little off subject, but in that issue, he discussed a request from the town of Oshkosh that was made last fall in regard to the permitting of ATVs within a small portion of that trail. So I assume this grant would not affect that request.
I would assume so too.
And then I would also request that the Parks Committee address the town of Oshkosh concern.
I duly noted, Mr. Vice Chairman.
So there's no issue there. Thank
Okay.
Not seeing any other lights on. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Carried.
Okay.
Resolution 4204, 2022, authorize a budget transfer in the amount of $170,700 to perform design and engineering service of the food service and the student development area on UW Fox Cities campus, funded with either a transfer from the undesignated general fund balance or advance from the general fund to be reimbursed with a substance bond issue. Supervisor Wise. It's going to be your first term, but should be.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for approval on Resolution 42-042022.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. If there's any questions, I know that Mr. Elder's back there, and I see some of them from the Fox Valley back there, so. Supervisor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm probably going to vote for this. This has been a long time in the works. Outagamie County already passed this, their portion of this for UWO Fox cities back in the fall during their budgetary times, and they're still waiting on us. I would really implore F&P and PNF to get these things during budgetary times, because we're waiting now. It's already April, and these are going to be put out to bid, and construction people are being booked up already. I don't know why we're looking at this in April when this should have been done back in the fall. We've known for 40 years we're going to do something about this food service at the student development area. And I don't know why we've waited this long. So I'm probably going to vote for it. I am going to vote for it. But I really would implore F&P and PNF, please get these things done in a timely manner so that we're on a level field to send out bids. Thank you.
Mr. Elder, do you want to give anything on that, why it was held back, or one of the other ones from the campus?
This actually isn't for construction. This is for the design work, and that we would get the design work done so that it could go out for bid at the end of this year or the beginning of next year when everybody is looking for work.
And Outagamie has had this done for how long?
They passed it with their budget.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. These things need to be passed with our budget instead of holding on to them for forever.
Supervisor Norton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My quick question, is there a big hurry to do this? Because if not, I'm going to make a motion to put this off until next month, because we have a county board tour, and I think it'd be very beneficial for everyone, especially the newer ones, to go see this campus, to see what this project all entails, because that's what I want to see before I vote for this, because I have some very concerns, and I really want to see where this is going to take place before I vote anything for it. So,
This is up-
first I'd like to have that question answered.
Okay, I'll answer part of it.
Okay.
This is up to the board, what they want to do and how they want to vote on it. This is on the tour.
Okay.
This is
So-
one thing that I've got set up, plus we're going to even eat lunch there, I believe.
Okay, then
So-
I'll make my motion to postpone this resolution until the May 17th, 2022 meeting.
Lack of a second, don't hear any. Supervisor Bender.
Is this on the resolution or the motion?
There was no second, so.
Okay. I just want to,
Oh, I didn't hear it.
Julie.
Okay. Julie Gordon, okay. This will have to be on the resolution then.
it is on the, Outagamie County has been waiting for us for the last 4 months to move this forward. We can't basically get the engineering until we get the 170, it's 340,000 total. And like they told us for the daycare, it took us over a year to get the money for the daycare that we redid. And they can bid their projects out January 1st. This should have been, basically, the engineering should have been started so the project could basically get out for bids. If you looked at this, it hasn't been remodeled since 1960. You know, the city of Neenah, they passed up for a new high school for over $100 million. The city of Oshkosh passed to build a new middle school for over $100 million. The taxpayers tell us they want good schools for our students. And if you looked at this, it's so outdated that they got basically no outlets for their charging system. They got no little areas to study. It's like, could you imagine having your kitchen from 1960 and your dining room, and you never remodeled it in 60 years? I mean, we've waited long enough for this. It's time to move this project forward and give these students something that they can basically eat their lunch and have a comfortable atmosphere to do their studying. You know, this is long overdue, and it needs to be passed tonight so we can move this forward. Like Outagamie constantly says, we drag our feet and we end up, the projects cost us more money because prices continue to go up, and they fund them, and we basically drag our feet and just keep, like tonight, we want to pass it and wait another basically month to get this done. I think it's time to move it forward and get it done.
Supervisor Fari.
I'd like to speak on the main motion, sir.
Supervisor Cox on the amended.
I'd like to defend
This is on the amended motion now.
I would like to speak on the main motion, if I could.
Okay? Yes. Just a minute. There you go.
Thank you, Chair. I'm confused as to where we are. There was a motion on the floor, then there was an amendment, but I heard you say there was no second and that we were moving on with the resolution, the motion that's on the floor, and now I'm hearing about an amended motion. So could you tell us where we are, please?
I did not hear a second, but he said there was a second by Supervisor Gordon, so we were back on the amended then. So it's on amended.
On the resolution.
Right, on
That
the
is-
amended,
there
on the
is-
one that Supervisor Norton brought in.
To move it forward till the 17th.
Motion to postpone this.
So the motion to postpone is on the floor.
Right, that's the amended
That's
one.
the amendment.
Correct.
Okay. Thank
That's
you
why
for,
the second was unamended for that.
thank you for clearing that up.
Yes, ma'am. Not seeing anyone else?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Supervisor Cox.
I'd like to defend the Personnel and Finance Committee as to why they voted 3-2 to hold this thing up.
It was because of a feasibility study that we couldn't seem to get finished with regard to the hoods and the size or dimension of the ductwork that goes out to the hoods. At the time, they came to us and asked for the entire amount, and we told them to come back when they got the feasibility study done so that we knew that we were doing the right thing. That's why it got voted 2 against it. I don't know whether that feasibility study has been done yet. Conditionally, a couple of years ago, they said they had it done, and it wasn't. And they had problems with air circulation in the building. So, and it has nothing to do with the cooking side of the building. It has to do with, I guess, the testing side, or where they do chemical.
I think it's on something else. I'll let Tim talk. Would you like to speak now? Your mic's on.
Thank you. My name is Martin Rudd, Assistant Chancellor for Access Campuses, and I oversee the UWO Fox Cities campus for the Chancellor's Office. If I could just make a correction to Supervisor Cox. There are 2 different projects here. The project that is on the floor here has a feasibility study that was completed back in late October of 2021 and was presented to the board. The trustees have seen it, and both the committees of jurisdiction have seen it. The project that you are referring to about the fume hoods in the science labs is a project in this year's capital improvement projects, and we have not done the feasibility study for that yet. The suggestion was that there's a feasibility study done, and that was what the money was approved for. So the 3-2 vote that you're seeing here was for the project which is in front of you for the Student Development Center and the food service. And just to reflect on what County Executive Damore said earlier, that the food service dates from 1959 in the facility. It is original to the campus. It is 63 years old and does not adequately serve the student body that we have today on the campus, and doesn't meet the needs of the students that we have on the campus. So that just to correct the discussion that was happening on 2 different projects here.
I stand corrected.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see no other lights on at this time.
That's what we voted on that, and that's what
Yours should be on, Julie.
Thank
Supervisor
you.
Gordon.
The reason I seconded Mike's motion is because I attended UW Fox Cities campus, and I wanted all of the supervisors to see the great need of improving that. I want to vote for it, but I also thought it would be more effective if everyone could actually see how great the need is for those students that attend there to have the improvements done. So, thank you.
Vice Shasta?
Sestera?
Sestera?
I am new. I haven't seen it. I don't need to see it, just for the record.
Okay.
I would be supporting it.
Thank you. Not seeing any other discussion right now. We'll be voting on the amendment first, which is to postpone it until after the tour. Without any, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Nay. The nays have it. Okay. Yes, Supervisor Eisen.
I'm asked to vote, and it says Norton's motion to postpone, and we've already defeated that.
No, he asked for a roll call, so that's why we're re-voting on it. He asked for the Defeated. So we are back on the Resolution 4204, 2022, authorize the budget transfer in the amount of $170,000 for performing design and engineering services for food service and student development at UWO Fox Cities campus. There was a motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? I see no lights. Your light isn't working. What's his name? There you go.
Okay.
It's on now, Supervisor Miller.
Thank you for recognizing me, Mr. Chair. I attended the presentation out at the Sunnyview Expo Center earlier this year when UWO made their presentation for this project. And I had a lot of questions regarding this and how it was going to actually operate. They referenced a feasibility study, which I don't know how many of you supervisors have read this, but I downloaded it and looked at this feasibility study. And in my mind, there are a lot of things lacking in this study. You know, to look at doing the feasibility of a lunchroom in this campus, one of the things that's lacking is they made no mention of alternative restaurants near the campus. And there are several alternatives which are not mentioned in this study and how they would affect the usage of this lunchroom. There's no mention in this study about what kind of meals are served. Are you serving a bottle of water and an apple, or are you serving a steak dinner and a baked potato? I don't know what kind of meals are being served by this study. One of the first things that you realize when you look at a restaurant or a lunchroom is that, you know, the number of people that you're served is going to be affected by the cost of the meals and what's being served. There's no mention of that. And so, you know, it leaves me to question whether this is really necessary and if there aren't other alternatives that are less expensive. So I'm going to be voting no on this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to answer something from the UW?
Thank you very much. So we are a commuter campus of more than 800 students and faculty and staff who come to study and work daily. Our students do not all have vehicles, as determined by the number of parking passes that are sold. Our students use public transit, and I would actually question which restaurants are around. We are attempting to provide nutritious food for our students while they are on campus, food that they deserve to have, not fast food, such as from the Quick Trip down the road or the Burger King in the plaza. Right now, our food service facility is outdated and way too small to provide that food for the body of students that we have. It has been for too many years now, more than 4 decades. It's been too small because of the student body that we have. We have enough space for a flat top grill, which allows some burgers and fried items to be prepared, but not the type of food, the grab-and-go food that students are requesting. One of the beauties of the 3-campus university that we have is we have a food service service provider, Aladdin, that serves all three campuses. And the Board of Trustees and Supervisor Binder toured the facility at the Oshkosh campus to see the types of food options that would be available for students, obviously on a smaller scale, as we attempt to engage them on campus during the time that they are there. Our students have really busy lives. They fit classes around caring for families, looking after children, working through college, and we want them to have a study space while they can eat and work in groups. Facilities really matter to the families and decision makers of young people who are looking to go to college. And we want this to be a facility where our students and our families are making the right choice to come, not being driven off campus, not literally and figuratively, to go and have fast food.
Thank you. Supervisor Stafford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Couple things. First is, as Supervisor Miller had mentioned, I'm going to express the concerns I had when it was presented previously, and that is, this seemed to me to be a lot more about the communal space and about enhancing the space to attract more people versus fixing any sort of significant issue. And I questioned, especially in how people are consuming education over the last couple of years and trends going forward, the viability of really focusing a lot of effort in creating a communal space when education right now is forcing the exact opposite in how they relate and interact and teach. So I still have that concern. Nothing's changed from that point. The thing that I'm really struggling with, to be real honest, and I actually really like the analogy that Supervisor Binder had made, because it really speaks to me, because my wife and I had the same conversation last year. We live in a house that's 80 years old almost. It's very old. The kitchen's never really been done much with. And we really wanted to do it last year, and we didn't, because we decided that we would actually give that money to charity and other people that are hurting instead, and to our employees instead. And I think that's a fair point to be made here. People are really struggling right now. I mean, with inflation and the environment and the economy, and I think the market was down again. Is this the right time, right? Is this the right, I'm not saying necessarily that we should or shouldn't do it in this point, but my point is this the right time to do it? And so I'm really concerned that this is the right spend right now. It may need to be done, but is this a matter of something that we should be looking at once things start to improve? And I know the Fed is now starting to talk about possibly a recession, and is this the kind of spend we want to do in advance of a recession? So those are my concerns. I'm really struggling with this. I probably will vote no on this at this specific point in time. Thank you.
Supervisor Hintz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Correct me if I'm wrong, 'cause it was one of my first meetings after I was appointed, but I believe I asked you directly, would this area end up being used to train students to go into the service industry? And I believe you had said that that was your long-term goal for this.
So not into the restaurant industry, because we are
food service industry.
So that's a place that for instance, the technical colleges do, because they have culinary arts and culinary arts degrees and baking certificates. What I'd indicated was that this renovated kitchen space will link in with our proposed business expansion module so that we can use the kitchen, for instance, in incubator space for businesses that are looking to, for one-time space to look at how they might commercialize their kitchen space. It would be a fair-sized commercial kitchen to serve 800 students, and would have that capability in the sort of off hours.
Okay, and thank you for clarifying that for me, because in this time right now, the service industry, as our executive can tell you, is having a hard time finding people to go into even to open a business, much less people to work at them. And this is that prime time where you're talking with the business incubator, where you're going to have future entrepreneurs who may want to go into this industry. They're not going to look at learning in a kitchen that's 50, 60 years old. They're going to want to learn to look in a service space that's more updated. And it's actually keeping things updated and trying to help refill basically a jug that's emptied out big time since COVID, because it's hard to get anybody in the service industry, but owners, operators, and employees. So I mean, for that alone, I think it's worth serving, because I've worked in restaurants all over the country for most of my life, and I want to see more people opening up small local businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Dowling.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is for our UW representative. Per the January 2022 meeting, I believe where this was presented at that time, students were not allowed to use the facilities. Are they allowed to use the facilities back, like in-person learning? That's current?
Yes, so
Okay.
so we have returned to a vibrant campus life. To answer the previous supervisor's question, a mix of in-person and hybrid classes. We had a booming and bustling community resource fair there yesterday with about 25 not-for-profit organizations who are looking for student help, Advocate and Harbour House. And so our students are back, fully engaged. They have been for more than a year and a half now, since the pandemic. And so, yep, are our students choosing to find education in different ways? Yes, but it's also attracting students in different ways as well. We found, for instance, that our library spaces are much more utilized. Our student union space is more utilized because students have the ability to sit and work together now without masks on, and sort of get back to that academic university feel.
Wonderful.
Thanks for your question.
Thank you.
Supervisor Bender.
I would just like to add a comment that, when you eat on campus, you probably save at least anywhere from 35 to 40 minutes. By the time you drive to the Quick Trip or the Burger King, you go in there, get your meal, you sit down. They can use that time constructively to get a meal and study, or maybe have a little time with their friends. But it's not time wasted driving. And in the winter, the roads are slippery. It's like the workers there that use the kitchen. I mean, could you imagine, we all have modern conveniences. None of us basically are using stoves and countertops that are 60 years old. I mean, I wish I could have talked to my wife, and instead of remodeling, our house is 30 years old, and we just put a whole new granite countertops, new appliances, new sink. If I could have talked her into eating at McDonald's, I could have saved a lot of money. But, she isn't going to say, that's not good for us to eat there. We're not supposed to eat fried food, so she likes to eat at home, and these kids deserve a good meal too. We shouldn't be feeding them French fries and burgers loaded with calories and wonder why the population isn't healthy and, like myself, overweight. We need to have a healthy meal for them, and if they want to eat at that campus and study while they're eating lunch, I'm all for it. They're going to get a job, and probably a good job, and they're going to stay in our community. I don't know why we wouldn't want that for our students, to have a good place to enjoy a meal, study, or converse with their friends. Instead we want them to drive to Burger King and eat a meal that's not healthy for them and not study. I just hope we pass this so we can move it forward.
Thank you. Supervisor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to be sure, this is the facility with the defective hoods, right?
No. So,
Oh, it's
so no. So, as I had indicated to Supervisor Cox, the facility with the defective hoods are the science labs, the chemistry labs, and we are embarking on a feasibility study to look at the duct work and what needs to be done to get those righted. This is a project that had originally come in front of this group in 2020, and as had been indicated, it's part of the 2021 capital projects.
Okay. I'm going to vote in favor of this. This has gone on long enough, and Outagamie is sitting around waiting for us to get our butts off our chairs and get this job done so they can contract this out. Let's vote for this thing.
Supervisor Peschel.
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. So just looking at this resolution, what we're really doing tonight is we are authorizing the design and engineering aspects of the food and service and development areas of UW Fox Cities. We're not actually authorizing like the building of that. This does not give us the powers to bond out to start the construction of the facility, correct?
Yes, sir, you are correct. So typically these projects are done in 3 phases. There's a preliminary design work, which we did through the feasibility study. The second phase is the design and engineering work, and that will build out on the suggestions which are provided in the feasibility study. We're not married to any one of those. And then the third phase would be the ask later on this year for the following year for the construction, again, split between the 2 counties, Outagamie County and Winnebago County, who fund the capital and maintenance projects on the UWO Fox Cities campus.
May I follow up with one other question, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Is there going to be a component, because right now you're talking to all of us. Sounds like you've also talked to Outagamie County about this. In what regards have we talked to our consumers of these areas that experience the most benefit from this?
That's a great question. So many years ago, when this project first started, we did the students were the ones that started the original work on this. So that was back in 2017. So that work has gone on. So, for instance, last summer, before the feasibility study took place, the Board of Trustees, so that's representatives from Outagamie County and Winnebago County, students, and those people involved in the kitchen work and the programming that takes place in the Student Development Center. We got together with the firm that actually did the architecture work, and they led us through a day-long retreat where we indicated the types of needs of the space, and they put that together in some of these conceptual designs. So that work has been detailed and ongoing for a year.
Sure. And then one other comment, if I could, and then I'd like to hold back a general comment to the whole body after that. Thank you.
Point of order. In order for it to be heard, I know it's impolite, it feels impolite to turn your back on him, but you need the microphone so that our live streaming people can hear what you're saying.
Okay.
And he can hear you, even if you're not looking at it.
All right. My thought has now been disrupted. Chairman, I would like the opportunity to speak again in a minute to collect my thoughts.
Sure, I'll come back to you. I got quite a few other ones, so. Supervisor Flom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a quick question for the UW representative here, and my apologies if you've already covered this, but in this space, does it also provide for catering and food service for things such as job fairs and other student activities outside of day-to-day classes and whatnot?
So it does, yeah, that's a good question. So we have the Communication Arts Center on the campus, and that is a public venue space, and so we have catered events. And so one of the things that has been problematic since the building of that space is that we've had very limited food service, and so typically we have clients have used outside vendors, but with the improved space, we had revenue estimates for increased catering sales as a result of the improved space. So there's a couple of parts to that. There are external groups that use catering, and then there's internal groups. So I'll give you an example, like the student governments of the 3 campuses get together and they have a sandwich bar lunch or something like that. So that's the type of internal event that the kitchen would be able to do now. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Supervisor Stafford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just looking for clarification, and I do apologize, perhaps I missed it, but heard something different with Supervisor Binder talking about how this will help contribute to healthy nutrition specifically. I might have missed that. So what of this effort is going to be geared towards making meals more nutritious versus what we have now beyond the facilities themselves?
That's a great question. So we have Aladdin, who provides the food service across all 3 campuses, and so they have in their contract with the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh, they are contracted to provide. I'll just refer to them as healthy and nutritious meals. I don't know more than that. Our facility at the moment is limited because we're not able to offer that. We don't have the space to bring the food in and to prep it. And so what we'll be able to do is the vision of Aladdin to have that food space for all 3 campuses will be realized. They actually have that space at the Fond du Lac campus, and they're able to do that, but we don't have that at the Fox Cities campus.
Thank you.
And with that comes actually a position of a dietitian. The students would have access to a dietitian.
Supervisor Ellenberger.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a quick question or comment, I guess. I'm a former international student, and I see that this actually is just under 20% of the students that are probably going to be helped by this. Am I not mistaken?
So our international students on the Fox Cities campus who come to us through King's Education are much more year-round. So we have students that are taking intensive English classes during the summer, and many of them, especially during the pandemic, have not been able to return home. One of the exciting pieces about the food service and student development piece in this project is that we are envisioning a meal plan that students will be able to access. So if they're on campus morning and lunchtime, they'll be able to have access to the meal plan. At the moment, our kitchen cannot do that, and it's only the international students who have a contracted service that we're able to do that for. So what we've been doing is on a sort of pilot basis, offering out the buffet lunch, the sort of pseudo meal plan to students and faculty and staff on the campus. And we showed some of the data from that in the feasibility study. People like it. It's been received much better than just the fried food that really wasn't going anywhere. So with Aladdin's new approach to food, and the pilot study that shows that if we are able to offer even just a limited amount of food with the space that we've got, we have the belief that we're going to not only pick up sales, but also get a greater number of people actually accessing the food.
I don't have any doubt that you will. Once again, I was an international student, and you can't just get up and normally you don't have a car. So I think that was brought up too, is you're kind of stuck on campus and there's really not a lot of places to go when you're walking. So I think this is a wonderful idea and I applaud you for this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Supervisor Gabbard.
A tad of history for you that haven't been here before. This is a process we use. We have a presentation, feasibility study, and then we hire an engineering firm. An example of how this flopped is the aviation facility. We went through all that work. We hired an architect, and the county board didn't approve the project, and the drawings sat for 6 years before we brought it back to the county board and got approval and have a new building out there. So, just so you know, that's a process. I don't think a month or so would hinder this project, and pricing isn't gonna go up sky high, it's already there. So, you have the right to vote for this, to hire an engineering firm, put it out for bids, and hire them, and they come back with drawings, and they put it out for bids, and we already have a budgetary number that this project is gonna cost over $4 million. Any way along that trail, you can stop this or you can proceed with this. So you have to figure out, but we're gonna have time because the architect isn't gonna get this done in a week. So this is just a process in the path. This county board has a chance to say yes or no. I think that Mr. Rudd has explained this quite a bit. I hope that when we have this tour, you go on the tour and you see the campus. He's trying to emphasize as this campus is growing. I was a student at UWO. I didn't have a car. So I stayed at UWO and I ate at UWO because I didn't have time to walk back home 1.5 miles. So I can see the point here. If you don't have a car, you're going to stay there. If you're waiting for public transit, you're not going to get back on a bus or in a cab to go to Quick Trip to get a sandwich. You'd rather eat at the campus. I'm not sure what my decision is going to be, but I will vote for this because at least get the process going so you get an engineer or architect hired to do the plan so you have something more feasible to look at. So just so you know, sometimes history doesn't do well, but if you stick at it, you get it done, and I think they've been asking for this for quite a while. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Norton?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I asked you at the previous meeting if Aladdin, who's going to benefit from this major renovation, if they're going to benefit, are we or not we? Is the DW system going to gain from the profits they make from having all these more meals? And that's my first question I ask of you.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I can answer that. So the contract with Aladdin, we hope will eventually, it doesn't at the moment, but we hope will eventually provide some money for additional new equipment. So in these projects, in these capital projects that come before the boards, you fund the facility, the building. So under the 1970 agreement between the Board of Regents and the two counties, the way that these work, especially for new supervisors, is if it's fixed, the counties pay for it. If it moves, that is, if you pick the building up and shake it, the things that fall out are the states. So those are the people and movable equipment and things like that.
So to understand you, what you just said, to answer my question, you said eventually they may pay more, but they won't right now. Am I correct?
So there is not enough revenue being generated right now for that process of revenue sharing to be enough to pay for new equipment. Okay. It's been that way for several years. Under our previous contract that we had with FSA out of Milwaukee, at the height, we were probably getting a few $1,000s a year back from the contract of the food service.
Okay, so to kind of expand on what Supervisor Gabbard was talking about, you know, if we approve of this, and someone answer me, Mr. Elder or someone, can we ask them to come back with a couple different designs or plans? And the reason I'm saying like that, because I remember the previous presentation, I remember Supervisor Gabbard, and I agree with her that, yeah, I think I'm agreeing that something has to be done. I don't know if everything in that plan needs to be done. I'm not really sure. I'm really all for having this meal plan just for the students there. With all due respect to international students, it's supposed to be a campus that was created back in 1959 or whatever for a community, for the people that live in Winnebago, Outagamie, the surrounding area. I don't think that we should be competing against UW Oshkosh, UW Madison, Harvard, whatever. I get the feeling that they're trying to go for. So I guess I want to hear that answer. Is, are we going to have some options? Because I may agree that something has to be done after seeing it, but I don't know if I'll go with all the elaborate plans. And if you can't guarantee that in the future I can vote that way, then I'm going to vote for against now. So, yeah.
I'm Joanne Reif. I'm the Chief Facilities Officer for UW Oshkosh, and I can tell you that the feasibility study had multiple scenarios. There were about 5 different scenarios that we looked at for that, and we ended up with the option 1A, which was a combination of option 1 and several other things from other options that were developed. That was part of the feasibility. When we do the engineering and design portion of this project, the scenario of what that project will be is going to have us going back and looking at those scenarios and reevaluating what can be done in order to advance that forward. When we do that, there's generally 2 or 3 options that are vetted out in that design process. So that's what we will be doing with the design and engineering phase.
And so when it comes forward to us, we only get one option? Is that what I'm thinking or believing?
The design process will vet out those and bring costs with those projects.
One option. And who will bring that option towards us? The UWO Fox Valley or the property facilities people?
So-
And that's what I'm trying to get at, is when we come to vote for this final option, is it going to be one option that they're only going to bring, or are we going to be able to pick out us, 36 of us, have at least a say in that? Because if you can't guarantee me that, I'm going to probably vote against them.
I can answer that. So your colleagues who are on the trustees will be doing that. So there are the trustees will make a recommendation, and then it will be that will move forward to the 2 committees of jurisdiction for approval.
Supervisor Peschel.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak, Mr. Chairman. Had some time to collect some more thoughts here, so bear with me. Just discuss the age groups that this campus educates.
Yep, I'll be happy to do that. So we have, of course, a traditional age body. We are primarily a 2-year campus, a transfer campus. Our mission is in access. We are an easily accessible campus, and our transfer mission means that typically after 2 years the students move out. So we have, of course, those 18, 19, 20-year-olds who are coming out of high school. And then about a third of our student body are non-traditional student learners. So those we would call over 25. So they're people with families, or they can be people with families or people that have been in the workforce and then come back. Those numbers vary depending on the strengths and weaknesses in the economy at any given time. We draw primarily from Outagamie and Winnebago counties, not 50-50, it varies a bit, and then other smaller counties as well. And as has been pointed out, we have an international student population that pay out-of-state tuition dollars as well. So that's a sort of brief look at our student body. We've been increasing the number of students of color. We're up to more than 10% of our student body are now students of color. We have a small competitive sports program where we play other two-year campuses. But our primary role is to provide those first 2 years of a general education, a UW education. Students can get the Associate of Arts and Science degree, which covers their 60 general credits that they can transfer anywhere within the UW system and enter as a junior in a major of their choice. We're a campus of UW Oshkosh, so our students can choose to continue and finish at the Oshkosh campus, but we also encourage them to fulfill their dreams, whether that's at Milwaukee or Green Bay or Madison. Many of our students come and start at a campus like the Fox Cities campus because it's close to home. They can continue their job, they continue to live at home, and they save money while doing so because we have the lowest tuition in the UW system. And then from there, the world is their oyster, whether it's 20 miles down the road to complete at Oshkosh. In a few cases, we have degree completion programs on the Fox Cities campus. We have this unique partnership with UW Platteville that this board knows about because they approved the renovation of an engineering facility about 12 years ago that does enable students to finish their engineering degree from UW Platteville on the Fox Cities campus without ever having to go to Platteville. And to date, we've graduated 175 students, bachelor qualified electrical and mechanical engineers who are working in our communities here. 90% of them have remained in the area.
Wonderful, thank you.
Great success story, and thanks to this board.
It is. So then, just my other comments are, I think I'm just going to relate to the board in general and to the chairperson. One, I can't hit it home enough that this is just process. These are steps along the path of getting to what we need to do to update our facilities. And I want us to believe that we want to provide the best and most up-to-date facilities for the people that we want to go to these schools. College. And Mr. Binder's comments related to how our school districts are spending $100 million to update their schools so that kids can get the most modern and most advanced education as possible is right in line with that transition of why we should support something like this. It's really important that we provide the best quality education as possible. And studies do show that providing the best nutritious options where they are support their growth educationally, mentally, and nutritionally. So there are benefits to that. My question, I have one other question that I'll come back. I'm going to make some general. So process, and I want to just kind of picture this too, is that I went to college 20 years ago. And some of the stuff that we're talking about right now for this university, the college that I went to at UW Oshkosh already instilled some of that stuff 15, almost 20 years ago. And so we're talking about a facility that's in our county that is behind its flagship university as well in regards to providing these options. And today we're just talking about engineering. We're not talking about bonding and facilities and bricks and mortar. We're talking about an engineering study. So, but since we want to talk about the building and the brick and mortar, the footprint of this facility, are we going to add out on this, or is it staying on the existing facility?
That's a good question. So the options that were provided in the feasibility study provided both of those scenarios. There's one option that uses the existing footprint. It is the judgment of the company that did the kitchen design work that an adequately sized kitchen is difficult to put in the existing space with the need for the square footage of the Student Development Center. But that is one of the options. The other options included the building of a firewall, a fire code wall, and then a kitchen behind that. Those also provide significantly better flow for the catering portion of the work, because the catering portion would then have a different entrance for the food coming in and out. So, but those are all and will be under consideration.
So, thank you. So in general, I guess I think it's really important that we move forward on just the engineering study of this. That's all we're talking about. We're going to have plenty of opportunities to think about this as it goes further down the line. But I just want to leave you with one last comment. The majority of us in this room will never utilize that facility. Think about that. Maybe 1% of us in this room, probably even less than 1% of us in this room. And so it's not about what we like. It's about what are the future of the future college graduates that we want to put through the UW Oshkosh system or the UW system or wherever they want to go. It's not about us. It's about growth of future leaders, future parents, future employees. It's about them. So I don't care that much about what it looks like, because what works for me right now, but might not work for the next generation, 10 years down the line. And that's part of what we do as supervisors, is think about what the future is for these types of facilities. Yes, do I want to know what it's going to look like? Yes, because I want to be a cheerleader for public education in Wisconsin. So that's important to me. But again, we're putting the cart in front of the horse here. We're talking about an engineering study. So I encourage everyone to vote in favor. Thank you.
Member Nussbaum, you don't want to speak now?
This horse is dead.
Okay. Not seeing any other lights on. I'm going to call all those in favor for the budget transfer of $170,700 for UWO Fox Cities campus. Signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Nay. Well, I think the ayes have it, so. Okay. Yep, 2/3. I didn't see that either. Yep, 2/3. Chuck's still holding. Failed to receive 2/3 full membership. So that failed? Well, that can't be right. 27 to 6. 2/3 of all, or? It's on all of them. No, they're. Right. 2/3 is 27.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what the math is.
That should pass.
That should have passed.
I think that's passed. Gonna need somebody to do the math here real quick, because I think it passed.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Robinson's vote is not recorded. He's on the Zoom.
We have the 3 people that are on Zoom unmarked as being present. Right.
But he is present though for our rules.
Right, and so if we, even as it stands though, it still should have passed.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure his vote was recorded.
Right, so they'll need to buzz in, and we'll need to call for their voice vote over the meeting, because they don't have a device to vote. Thank you. Yeah.
Right.
So,
The math is wrong anyway.
exactly.
Right.
That's what I
It
was
should have
gonna say.
passed, I would say.
So do you want to ask them via Zoom if they would give us their vote, or how do you want to handle it? The math is wrong.
Well, how can they vote?
I mean, we already did.
Well, but I mean, how can they vote?
Well, they're present via Zoom. We'd have to ask them to, it'd be doing a roll call vote to have them tell us.
We
their
didn't
vote.
do it on any of the rest of
We
them.
did not, no.
That's my feelings.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't know.
No.
What does Mary Ann say?
She said they should. What is your?
But we didn't ask them on any of the other votes.
But none of the other votes require two-thirds of this close. One of the others basically managed.
But if,
Well, but even this, still the math is wrong.
How is the math wrong if it's 27, 6, 0, 40?
No, no, but the two-thirds of 36 should be 20.
just hold on.
I mean, it's just, the math is wrong. I don't know if
Right.
it's programmed wrong or what, but that's definitely not right. So it's wrong. It's wrong.
Right.
And that's a programming thing. We'll have to have them adjusted, but no, that would pass. So it passed.
It's passed as far as I can, but that's what it says. It failed. But if anybody wants to do the math. Right.
Yeah, passed.
Right. So,
Okay, so this is wrong. All right.
so any question on that? It should have, like, right.
There's
So,
three via Zoom. We have not called for their vote. So we didn't on any of them. But either way you look at it, even if they all voted aye, it would still, you know,
right, because 24 would have be.
24. No, it should say that it passed.
So do we know why it's saying, do we know why there's a flaw here?
Yeah, it'd be a program. Can I hit next? Can I go on, or?
Hmm?
You want to go on and do this? Because it's definitely passed.
Anyone have any objections? We go on? So, okay. So it's passed. If anybody wants to look at the figures, we will be going on to resolution 4304, 2022, amend the table of organization for Winnebago County Facilities Department to eliminate 5 custodian positions and add 5 facility assistant positions. Supervisor Wise. Just hold on, I gotta have her move this here. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll try and do a better job on this one here. This is about eliminating 5 custodial positions and adding 5 facilities assistant positions. We've had a very hard time trying to hire and keep custodians. The thoughts are that we're going to upgrade this a little bit from the custodian to the facility assistant positions. Basically, the difference between
Supervisor
them-
Wise, do you want to make a motion to get it on the floor first?
Yes, sir, thank you. Making a motion to accept 43-042022.
Motion made and seconded. Now, I'm sorry, if you have anything else you'd like to say.
Yes, I would. Thank you very much, sir. It's been a very tough time getting custodians to do this job. Sometimes it's a matter of hours is all they last on it, but we have gone to updating it to facilities assistant positions. Basically the only difference between the two of them is that they would be doing assisting work with trade employees. The amount of money is not a very big issue here. Yeah, $14,000 is major, but it's only about a 40 cents an hour range difference between the two of these positions. So I propose this amendment, the resolution, and I hope we go along with it. Thank you.
Vice Chairman Fari.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I see a committee vote such as personnel and finance, the vote was 3-2. Can somebody explain to me why the other two did not support this? What the reasoning was?
Supervisor Cox.
Mr. Ferry, we had two people that did not agree with it because of the possibility of a change in levy and the daisy chaining that this is going to start with other people on the in the facilities in other positions. You change one, you give them a raise, and all of a sudden everybody down the line wants another raise. And it goes that way. The budget, it was never in the budget for this raise. And so that is going to make a levy change. 14,000 may not sound like a lot, but as soon as it starts daisy chaining, you're going to see a levy issue.
Thank you.
Supervisor Ellenberger.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a couple questions. A, the proposed and the current flow charts seem to be exactly the same. I didn't see a difference in that. Also, are we conducting exit interviews? Because I was surprised to see they only lasted 9 days, or as I think Wise alluded to, that some of them are even actually hours. So is it the pay, or, what was the purpose, and will this solve the problem? Because if it doesn't solve the problem, then are we going down the wrong rabbit hole? Should we be looking at another solution to the issue?
I will have Mike Elder come up and explain that to you, or the HR, both of them.
Oh, right there, okay.
Okay, this is two different things that we're talking about here. One of the things that we looked at was the work that our custodians do compared to other custodians in the county. And the custodians in the facilities department do more work than, and different type of work than what other custodians do in the county. For example, our custodians come in and do snow removal. They're on call. Other custodians in the county aren't. So when my custodians are coming in for snow removal, they're doing snow removal in front of buildings that have custodians that are still inside. So they're doing more work, they're on call, and that's pretty much what drove this with the reclassification of them. Now, we have had a lot of success in getting people working for facilities assistants. The people that we've had with custodians, some just don't come back to work. So there's no chance to do an exit interview with them. We did have the person that lasted, I think, 9 days, used to be a meat cutter. And what he decided at the end of 9 days was he preferred going back to the meat cutting business. So, it's people have varied reasons for leaving the job, but the problem that we've got is we've been successful at getting the facilities assistants, and we're not getting custodians.
And as far as the organization chart, the only difference was under maintenance.
He showed me.
Okay.
I didn't see it at first, but thank you.
And then the other thing I would add is we do mail out exit surveys to all employees. I don't know if that particular employee would have sent one back, but we do give everyone an opportunity to provide feedback.
Supervisor Norton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Quick question. I know it's $14,428 per year total. What is the hourly wage that's going up because of this? Can I ask that quick question?
The minimum for the position would move from $14.16 per hour to $15.37 per hour.
Thank you. I urge support of this. I came from a housing authority meeting today, and we can't get similar personnel at $19 an hour. So I think any increase is much, much needed.
Supervisor Bender.
I'll just say UW Oshkosh had a job fair, and their starting wage for custodians is $15 an hour. We've been 4 custodians short for over, I think it's 2 years, Mike said, or, on and off. We've never had a full staff for over 2 years. Our buildings are being neglected. Our workers are basically being asked to work a lot of overtime. They're saying, we'll only empty the garbage every other day. The carpet's supposed to last 15 years. We can't vacuum the carpet like it's supposed to be vacuumed, so we're not gonna get the 15 years out of the carpet. The carpet's probably gonna have to be replaced in 10. It's like penny wise and dollar foolish. We put money in for a wage study. I asked Mike Collier if that would be done by budget. He's doing another job right now. He can't do the personnel and the finance director job at the same time. We're not going to have that wage study done by budget time. A lot of our employees are way under the average. How do you hire somebody when we haven't done a wage study in about 3 or 4 years? We pay less by dollars, not cents, than other businesses, and we're comparing UW Oshkosh. They got about the same benefits as we do. Their starting pay is $15 an hour. You try to get somebody for $14, $22. I just think, those employees deserve to basically have a full staff. Just like, I wouldn't want to go to a job every day where I'm 4 people short and I'm supposed to make up the difference, or the buildings reflect it. You look at this building, you never see no dust. You look at the railings are polished. You look at the floors. That doesn't just come they work hard to do that for us. And I think they deserve that, and we should basically move it forward.
Supervisor Flom.
Question for the gentleman from facilities, and then I may have a follow-up question for corporate counsel. Is the job description, the changing of the job description, and I know you covered this in your email to the county executive, I don't really see much change in the job itself. So my question is, would that open us up to liability concerns for corporate counsel if we say we're giving them one job, but the reality of the job doesn't change much at all?
Well, there is a separate position description. We'd actually hire for facilities assistant. And so even though it's not significantly different than custodian, there are differences. So we would actually hire for facilities assistants. That's what would be posted. That's what we would interview for. That's what they would be hired as.
And given the HR acting director's explanation, we would not open ourselves up to liability if there is a change.
Supervisor Cox.
Whether it's a change in description or change in money, it still has to be covered. It has to be covered in the budget. If you don't lay out enough money in order to hire people at a higher rate, you're going to impact the levy. We have a wage study that's supposed to be done, and it isn't. It's been waiting and waiting and waiting. I had in my mailbox today or the other day a cardboard thing from, Outlook Graphics, $19 an hour. They're hiring incoming without any education. If you're going to improve the wage on somebody that's there already, they've got to have some education as well. And we've got to have some way of covering it in the budget. So you tell me, how do you want to do it? You want to do it with education, or do you want to do it with covering it in the budget in the fall?
We've had vacancies now for this whole year, and the number of vacancies that we've had will more than cover the cost of this change. Then when I do the budget for 2023, the additional costs for these positions will be rolled into my labor costs.
You're still going to have to provide some kind of education for these people to make sure that they're able to function fully throughout the entire range of what you know.
Correct. They're trained to do their cleaning job, yes.
No.
Supervisor Horan.
Thank you. I have a couple of things to say. One of them is, and this is a question, do the people who are on call get on-call pay?
Yes, they do.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't clear on that. I can tell you that I have a son in the restaurant business, and for their dishwashers, to make sure that they have somebody who is washing the dishes, they are paying $15+ an hour. That's it, and that is from Wednesday through Saturday. So, you know, we're talking about part-timers getting paid $15 an hour. Now, they do not have benefits that I suspect these people do. Thank you.
Supervisor Harrison.
Well, this is a tough area, and I kind of know a lot about it, because in the car business, I have a lot of entry-level people that I hire. And they sometimes last 3 days, sometimes 9 days. And we found by looking at a lot of times, it's not always the pay, because right now, if you remember not too long ago, the governor, everybody was talking about changing everybody's pay to $15 minimum wage. Everybody's given 15 now, so that's just automatically wherever you go. But I found a lot of times if they didn't understand the job, if they're going to do snow removal, and you don't tell them until it snows, they kind of get shocked. And again, for that long not to have somebody, there's got to be a lot more. I mean, I know it sounds like it helps a little bit when you change the title, because it sounds more of a title than, you know, a guy washing a car, he doesn't like that job, but we call him a glorified, you know, car guy, you know, different detail we call them, and they like the job and they stick. So sometimes you got to take, look, in my training idea, what we did is, when I sell a car, the car doesn't mean anything until the person cleans it at the bottom. So a lot of times they think they're the bottom person. They're not the bottom person. So when you're talking about all these facilities need to be cleaned, you need professionals to clean them. So if you treat them like that, rather than say, I just need a janitor to do the trash or whatever, but if you train them or bring them in, like they said, making them the next level, a different name, an assistant, now they feel a little more important. You gotta tell them every day they're doing the great job, because it's more important, because the place looks better. We just talked about it, replace it running down, the trash to be done. That's your job is more important than anyone else around here, to be honest with you, because we need this place cleaned and set up. So if you could do that, and then if you work the program, because they're all going to get 15, if they don't like the job tomorrow, they're going to get someone else to pay them more. And I know we worry about paying it, but the thing is, we want good people, or do we want to get people coming and going all the time? You have to decide. So to get good people, you got to treat them like that. You got to bring them into the job as a position that they're respected, that this means a lot for you to be here. You're going to add a lot to our place and our business and our county, and we need you. If you come across that, it's a little bit dinner. Because when a guy runs after 9 days, it wasn't the paycheck. Something else happened. Maybe somebody looked at him wrong. Somebody said something to him that got him upset. And you won't get an exit interview because he's not coming back to even get his last check because he doesn't care. So I mean, these people we have to realize are the people that are having tough times. And they go from job to job. And I think if you went a little bit angle where you, like you said, had a better title, and if you respected them a little more, and if we took a look at that, we could get 4 or 5 people. It's not a matter of 40 cents or 50 cents or a dollar, and I know we got to worry about that, and I don't want to spend money either, but it's a lot more than just the dollars and cents. I think it's this way we treat them, way they feel, and I know every one of us probably, when you think of this job, a guy washing the car, a car wash, and a guy, you don't really think of them the same way as you do your boss or, you know, a sales, you know, that's it. So I think if we look at a different angle of that, we can keep more people. That's just my opinion from my experience. So,
thank you. Supervisor Flom.
I have a possible amendment. I don't know how this would work since it came out of the committee process, multiple committees. Is it possible if we could tie a pay raise and bump in title to amount of time stayed here? I know that more and more companies these days are offering bonuses contingent to how long people stay on staff. So if you're here for 3 months or 6 months or 8 months or what have you, then you will get that bonus or that pay bump and a bump in title. Referring to what Supervisor Cox said, if we could possibly use that time to incorporate that proper training and education that these people need, and at the end of that time period, that time frame, then they receive the pay bump and the title bump. I'm not necessarily certain how that would work. I don't know how I could offer that in this situation because this has come out of committee, but that is just a suggestion I have, whether or not the author wants to take that as a friendly amendment or it would have to be introduced separately. Thank you.
That could be amended, can it not? Can he make an amendment? Or not?
He can make an amendment if he... Can you restate what your amendment would be?
Thank you. So my amendment would tie the pay raise that has been denoted here and the title difference from the custodian to facilities assistant position to a 90-day time span in which they would receive proper technical training. And then they would receive that pay bump contingent that they show up to work on time and that they stay on the job.
I'm going to defer to your, have you ever had this in HR?
Well, if I may, I'm trying to understand the amendment. I mean, certainly we have thought about different kinds of pay systems, but as I understand it, what you're suggesting would put an additional type of pay in rather than doing the table of organization change and changing the positions to facilities assistants. If we have additional facilities assistant positions, according to county compensation policy, we have to pay at least the minimum wage. Certainly we can, the Personnel and Finance Committee can consider a wide variety of different pay incentives for retention, and we certainly have discussed that. One of the reasons we haven't moved forward with that kind of a plan, and I can't speak to all possibilities, but we've certainly thought about that, but we find that, you know, we're in a battle to recruit. And when you're in a battle to recruit, the most important number on your side is that original starting wage. So it used to be much more common to have, you get 85% of the starting wage for the first 6 months while you get trained. And that makes sense, but it doesn't get employees in the door. You know, so we haven't pursued that kind of thing at this time. Now I know a lot of organizations that are doing retention bonuses after a year, after 2 years, after 18 months. We can certainly consider those further, and some of those might be, but I think you have to start out with the right starting wage to get people in the door, and then look specifically at exactly what the retention issues are that might be affected by a bonus. So those are just some of my thoughts on that kind of pay system. But in terms of an amendment, you know, to this current resolution, I think it would be kind of voting down the resolution and then adding a different form of compensation that might be applicable to a different or a wider range of employees.
Okay. I just wanted to add a little bit here. I've been on facilities, and they've, I don't know how long it's been since you've had a full staff, much less custodians, Mr. Elder, but it's been a long time. So this is just the start of going someplace. When Mr. Collard, when he gets time, I do presume he'll get that study done, and I know we've been asking for that for a long time, but right now it seems like we're in a bind on what to do until he can go ahead and get a different finance director so he can step back in his own spot and get that done, the study in that. It's been asked for, so. But going back onto that, for Mr. Elders there, for in the facilities there, something's got to be done. I know the money's tight. Believe me, I don't want to spend it. I'm from out in the country area, and it's hard on them. It's hard on everyone. And like they said on other things, I don't know if it's going to get any easier, but if you look at that end of it, it's not going to get any easier on getting them people to go out and shovel the snow. And when we come to these county board meetings or whatever, who's going to have the snow shoveled in front of these doorways and this and that? And who's going to, in all the county buildings, wait until you hear how many county buildings and all that we got. There's lots of them, and that's being studied. So I think, and I'm just saying snow removal, you got the lawns to mow, you got the lawns to rake. You just can't believe it goes on and on, and it isn't just the dusting and all this and that. So I'm definitely going to be supporting this because of that, because I feel as though that's one of the backbones of our buildings and that here. Supervisor Gabbard.
Couple of points. A few years ago at Parkview Health Center, we were short CNAs. We still are short, but we changed 16 positions to hospitality aides and figured out that we could have the hospitality aides do some of the work that the CNAs really didn't have to work, and we would fill some slots. So we filled 16 positions, and we had people that came in left and right for those positions, and they're still out there today. So I'm going to vote for this because I think if you change the description, I think it might work better. It did for Parkview. And the other thing is, because there's been a shortage of custodians, a lot of the facilities had to hire cleaning companies, contract out to them to do the cleaning because Mike didn't have the staff to do the cleaning. So that was a cost for the departments, thus for the county. So I think we should give this a try and see how it goes and see if we can get some people hired. Thank you.
Not seeing any other lights on. We'll have to go ahead and vote. This is also 2/3 of the membership. So we might as well do the, so if you're in favor of it, say A. If you're not, nay. It's passed. Resolution number 44042022, authorizing Winnebago County to enter into agreement with the East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission to administer Wisconsin Administrative Code NR-135 and require local adopted non-metallic mining reclamation ordinance. Supervisor Hintz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I ask, or I make a motion to approve Resolution 44-042022.
Motion made and seconded. I do not see any lights on at this time. So all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried. Number 45042022, authorize the Winnebago County Sheriff's Office to accept a Homeland Security Program grant award from Ballistic Shields. Who is that? Brian? Are you chair now? Well, Brian Stafford, that one. Supervisor Stafford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move for the passage of resolution number 45042022.
Second.
We agreed. Supervisor Powers.
Thank you, Chairman Egan. I have a question and I have one concern. My question is, Sheriff, how many of these shields, and is a shield the same thing as like a bulletproof vest, what we're voting on, but how many are you getting?
So it's not a bulletproof vest. It's actually a shield. So just picture something like this. It will stop a rifle round 30-06 and below. The number of shields, I believe, we're just getting one shield, even though it's a ballistic shields grant. This is an alert team. Winnebago County is a designated alert team. That's a line law enforcement response team. So you will see these grants coming through on a regular basis for those board members that have been here for a period of time. These grants will come up periodically. All of this equipment is available to all law enforcement within our area and throughout the state and has been requested for tactical events that have occurred. Our tactical team receives additional training, being an alert team, and receives additional equipment that again is shared throughout the area, the region, and throughout the state.
Okay, and my one concern, I'm troubled that this grant is coming from the Department of Military Affairs, as our Sheriff's Department is not military, but rather law enforcement. My concern is, this is a slippery slope of the militarization of our law enforcement. Why is this coming from Military Affairs?
It actually comes from the Department of Homeland Security, but then is funneled down through the fiscal agent of Department of Military Affairs. So it really has nothing to do with military affairs, except for it being the fiscal agent or the agent that sees the grants through. I don't know if that answers your question. Is this military equipment? It's military grade equipment, but it catches bullets. So, I mean, has no offensive ability. If we are in a situation, a tactical situation, where an officer or a deputy is being fired on, that shield will stop bullets.
Okay, well, I do feel better about your having military-grade shields and protection. I would really be against start getting military-grade weapons in our law enforcement. But I'm voting for this. Thank you, Sheriff.
Vice Chairman Farry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sheriff, I think the observation that, once again, we're opposed to accepting a grant from the federal government or free federal money. And that is, people have different thoughts on that. So my basic question is, does our current SWAT team have shields currently?
We do have some shields, but again, this is equipment that is not just for our tactical team. This is equipment that is shared throughout our entire region. So if Brown County has a situation where they need to use one of these shields, we'll meet them at the county line out of Gamey, then to Brown County. So it is shared throughout the entire area, so not just for our particular team.
So what I'm hearing you say, we currently have these shields.
We do, but there's an expiration date that goes with the Kevlar and the equipment.
Oh, okay,
So
yeah.
it's a replacement process that we go through as part of an alert team.
So the ones we currently have will become outdated, and these are to replace those?
Yes.
Because I really wouldn't want to support replacing something when what we have is working just fine. You know, that's my point here. There's no need to throw money away, even if it's free money, so,
I understand.
thank you.
Supervisor Dowling.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is for our sheriff. Attachment B, item 1, says that the grant must receive training through an equipment vendor or competent source. Are you able to provide that training, or is that an additional cost?
No, we provide that training. We have trainers that are trained in giving additional training on ballistic shields, not only for our tactical officers, but for our deputies as well. So this can be used in an event that is occurring very quickly. We keep one of these shields in our supervisor's vehicle. Thank you.
Supervisor Defferding.
Mr. Chair, question for the sheriff, and don't mean to put you on the spot, but maybe you already have an answer for me. But has there been any incidences over the last few years that you think a shield like this would have come into good use?
Absolutely. You'd be amazed at the number of tactical events or events that occur on a evening just like tonight at 3 o'clock in the morning, and our patrol guys are using these shields to advance to a house where we have somebody with a known weapon.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, seeing no other lights. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried. And that should be our meeting. So at this time, I'll call on Supervisor Albrecht. Oh. Supervisor Beauregard.
Real quick, is there an update on the ARPA committee?
No, because we had to wait until the Judiciary Committee was picked for
So
the
that should be
chairman.
coming shortly?
We found out tonight who it is, so as far as on my part, I'll be ready to pick them out, so.
Thank you.
Hopefully I'll get with the county executive and we can get them picked out this week yet.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, there's been a motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed? Carried. We are adjourned.